right when they got to the scene, started to administer life-saving efforts. One thing to note, police did not fire their weapons, which makes us infer that the shooter took their own life. The shooter who was a student, according to police. And so right now, what are police doing? What are law enforcement doing? Well, Chief Barnes said they've already cleared the school twice. Now they're going through and clearing it for a third time. They're collecting evidence. They're making sure there's no student left in the building, and they're trying to account for as many students and staff and teachers as they can. And so that's what they're doing right now. So there are students, we know from Elizabeth Wattis's reporting that they're at City Church in Madison, which is right across from Abundant Life Christian School. And so those parents are now having to wait to connect with their students because of this investigation happening right now. I want to send it out to our Tim Elliott. Tim, you're a dad. We know that it's very hard for parents to have to wait for this information, especially as we're just learning that 5 people were killed and 5 were hurt. Have you learned anything more? Have you seen any parents hear that information?
Well, it's been just a steady trickle of parents showing up here at the clinic here behind me. They turn off of Stoughton Road. They're not quite sure where to go, where to park. And if you are coming here, if you are a parent of a loved one, you come down here Buckeye Road, you take a right onto Buckeye off of Stoughton, and you kind of can tuck around here to the clinic. There's a big parking lot in the back, and parents seem to be a little bewildered, you know, understandably. They're frantic, trying to figure out where to go, trying to gather their thoughts, trying to gather the right words to express how they're feeling as they come here to this clinic here behind me. But, you know, as a parent, it's just an unfathomable day right now. You're sitting at work, you get a phone call like this, that there's been a shooting at your son or daughter's school, and just you rush to the scene, just trying to get there as fast as you can. I just can't imagine what these parents are going through right now. But there is a lot of first responders here behind me. I'll step out of the way. We can zoom in a little bit. We got Madison police officers, Dane County Sheriff's deputies, there's paramedics, there's fire trucks here. A lot of people waiting to direct parents as they show up and head into the lobby. Again, these parents are frantic. They don't know what to think, what to do, so they head into the lobby, and I'm assuming that's where they're hopefully getting some more information from police about what is happening. But we just interviewed Police Chief Sean Barnes about 10 minutes ago. He briefed the large contingent of media folks who are here from all over the state about what happened. He initially told us that 3 people are dead, and then toward the end of the press conference, we learned that in real time that 5 people are dead, including the shooter here, and 5 people taken to the hospital. So just an absolute sad, tragic day for everyone a part of the Madison community. For this to happen at this private school, which is just simply a mile up the road from here on Buckeye Road, it's hard to wrap your head around as a parent. Is an absolute nightmare scenario, and I just can't imagine what those parents and family members, loved ones, and friends are going through right now. So a hard day for the entire community, but we're going to stay here on the scene. Chief Sean Barnes says he's going to give another update at about 2:30, so we got some time between now and then, and hopefully we learn some more information. But my role right now is to kind of just hopefully talk to some parents who are showing up here on the scene, and hopefully I can interview them about how they're doing here in this moment in time. Reporting live from the east side of Madison, I'm Tim Elliott for 15 News. Back to you in the studio.
Okay, Tim, thank you. Be watching again that reunification point that Tim is at. It's at SSM Health Clinic on Stoughton Road, just down the road from All Abundant Christian School. One other thing to note, one takeaway from the press conference that we heard with Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes was that all of the other MMSD schools were also in lockdown. I don't know if that is currently still the situation, but out of an abundance of caution, he said that all MMSD schools were on lockdown as they work to clear through these threats, as well as right on campus, just a block from where Tim is.
Chief Barnes did say there's no threats to MMSD schools, so we just want to make that very clear right now. While they were on lockdown due to this, there is no threat to MMSD schools. Again, Abundant Life Christian School is a private school, so not within the Madison Metropolitan School District. We have our Elizabeth Wattis now, who is right outside of that school. Elizabeth has been talking with neighbors and seeing things up close as she is directly across from that school. Elizabeth, do you have any new information for us?
Yeah, As you can see, ambulances are still flying down the street. One just passed moments ago. You saw it there, still lined with police. Those ATF agents are here. And I want to show you the church. It is right across the way from the school. You see that building right now. Our cameras are pointing at it, that tan building. Now, we did know that when that shooting happened, groups of children were taken from the school to that church for safety. Now, we heard just from Sean Barnes now. Here's the school on the other side. We're going to turn our cameras around for you there. That is the school, Abundant Life Christian School, a K through 12 school. About 200 families are part of this school from different groups all over Dane County, not just that church across the street. Now, we do know right now no children are in that school. So what's going on? Chief Barnes just told us minutes ago they are sweeping that building for a second time. They have officers in there. They have bomb-sniffing canines in there. We're actually standing right next to a canine unit right now, their car. They're going in inch by inch from that building, looking for any threat. Now, the bomb-sniffing dogs is just a precaution. No reports of any bombs, anything like that. But Chief Barnes says they are going to be working minute by minute to make sure that every single threat that could exist is crossed off their list, not only inside the building, but every single car in the parking lot. Now, the parking lots, let me explain to you, there's kind of a school parking lot. And then there's a big football field in the back with some playground equipment, a bunch of cars in that parking lot as well. That leads to the church parking lot. So as you can see, there is crime tape, that yellow tape blocking off that parking lot where they are now searching every single car to make sure every threat is neutralized here in Madison. So we will keep you posted minute by minute as we learn more. Now, community members and parents, they were lining the sidewalks here, but people are kind of clearing the scene, heading to where Tim is. That Reunification Center is so important for parents right now. That's where they can get the information they need about their children. I am in contact with a few parents who have kids here, and they say that if they get any updates from the school, they will let us know, and we will let you know if you are looking for that information as well. That's why we are here gathering every single piece of information to keep you in the loop, to get you the information you need. I'll continue doing that, but for now, live in Madison, Elizabeth Wattis, WMTV 15 News.
And for every reporter who is there right now as this story is making national headlines, this is very heavy to cover. This is emotional for us to cover. This is something that we do not want to have to cover, this type of news, with 5 people hurt and 5 others who were injured. And so you hear that, and again, we do not know who these people are yet. We will learn that in the coming hours. We will learn more from Madison Police about were they students, teachers, staff members involved here. But we do know that the shooter is dead. Chief Barnes said that the shooter was a student at this school, a juvenile student. Again, this is a K through 12 school, so we do not know the age of that shooter right now. But just very sad information that we're learning as police are doing their best to cover this as well, to investigate this as well. Something that they do train for, but they never ever want to have to respond to.
Another piece of information take away from that press conference, as you had touched on earlier, was that Police Chief Sean Barnes had shared that part of the Madison medic team was in a training just down the road when they first got this call for the active school shooter report just before 11 a.m. And he said, this is why we train. This is what we are trained to do. And so they came right from that training center down the road to this school to help and start triaging the best that they can. And as you can see, this is some footage taken just moments ago of just the immense police and federal presence that is on the grounds here at the school. And if you're just joining us again, we know that 5 people are dead, including the shooter, who the police chief believes to be a student at the school, as well as 5 people who have been transported to the hospital as well, with injuries ranging from minor to life-threatening. Again, this is happening at Abundant Life Christian on Madison's east side.
So what can you do if you're watching this at home? You might not know anyone that is part of this school. One thing you can do is to avoid this area. So it's on East Buckeye Road, the 4900 block of East Buckeye Road. Also avoid the SSM Health Clinic on Stoughton Road a mile away, because that's a parent reunification site. So that's something that you can do right now is to stay out of this area, as police need to be there. Ambulances need to get to scene if they are needed. And another thing that you can do is to pray, because this is a Christian school, and so many parents, I'm sure right now, are turning to their faith and saying prayers for those who are hurt, that they will recover, and they're trying to come together in these moments. What would have been the last week of school for students before winter break began now looks incredibly different than it did before, and so now this school has to come together and grapple with this tragedy. Again, Chief Sean Barnes calling this a sad day for the city of Madison and for our country. And so we're going to send it back to our Tim Elliott, who is at that reunification site. Tim, right across from where parents are gathering together, I'm sure, praying that they will hear from their children soon.
Yeah, the flow of parents has kind of subsided just a bit. I haven't seen many vehicles arriving here on the scene, and parents getting out of their vehicles and running up to the lobby of this SSM Health Clinic here behind me. But the intersection of Stoughton Road and Buckeye Road, just to my left up here, is still filled with emergency vehicles, police officers directing traffic, letting parents know who might come here now to turn right onto Buckeye and head to this clinic right here. This part of Buckeye Road, just up to my right here, this is where Abundant Life Christian School is, and that section of the road is shut down right now, and only emergency vehicles are being let through at the moment. But I did speak with a parent probably about 40 minutes ago or so. He arrived on the scene. He parked his SUV across the street, kind of where the media is staging right here near me. He ran across the street, and then a couple minutes later he was running back, and I asked him, you know, why are you coming back? He's like, I forgot my cell phone. I'm frantic right now. And I asked him, how are you feeling? He said, I'm absolutely terrified at the moment. He said he couldn't gather his thoughts. He couldn't find the right words. He told me he has two children that go to Abundant Life Christian School. And as we've been saying since we broke in with our coverage here on this breaking news story, we don't know who the victims are right now. We just know that 4 people were shot and killed, and the shooter then took their own life. Again, that happening earlier this morning, excuse me, just up the road here at Abundant Life Christian School. So the information is what is of importance right now for parents. They want to know if their student is okay. Where are their students at this moment? All that information hopefully being divulged inside that clinic right here behind me, as parents, again, are told to come here inside the lobby of this health clinic, where police have been hopefully briefing them and letting them know what's happening next, and hopefully letting them know that their child is okay. Those children still being accounted for. They're doing that sweep of Abundant Life Christian School. As we heard Chief Sean Barnes say not long ago, there is no more threat to anybody here at the school or in any other school, even though MMSD schools were on lockdown for a bit. But again, the shooter has taken their own life, so that threat has been eliminated at this time. But again, 4 people, we're not sure if they're students, teachers, maybe a mix of students and teachers. We know 4 people were killed and 5 more taken to the hospital with injuries ranging anywhere from minor injuries to life-threatening. That's what the chief had to say earlier this morning. Again, the chief is going to update the media at roughly 2:30, but in the meantime, we're going to try to figure out if we can speak with any parents just about how they're feeling in this very terrible and emotional day here on the east side of Madison. Reporting live from the east side, I'm Tim Elliott for 15 News. We'll send it back to you, Phoebe and Gabriella, in the studio.
All right, Tim, thank you for that live report. Again, Tim Elliott did ask Police Chief Sean Barnes if we could get more information on those 5 people who were killed and the 5 people who were hurt. Right now, police are not releasing that information as they are trying to connect to the families who have been impacted by this and notify them of what has happened. And so now parents must wait to unify once again with their students, with their children. And so this is going to be likely throughout the rest of the the afternoon. This will take hours for police to finish their investigation of the school, to speak with any witnesses about what happened, to talk with parents and give them updates, and talk with administrators in the school. And so this is likely going to last for several hours. It could be dinner time before parents are reunited with their children. And so this is the painstaking wait that they have to go through right now, just wanting to know if they are okay. So we are doing our best to learn information for you as we can, as this story is making national headlines right now. Another school shooting in the United States. And in fact, Phoebe, we're just learning new information from the White House.
We're hearing this morning, yes, in part, quote, the president has been briefed on this school shooting in Madison, Wisconsin. Senior White House officials are in touch with local counterparts in Madison to provide support as needed. And that is just one of the reactions that we are hearing from lawmakers, not only in our state, but now across the country, as this headline is making national news. We do want to take some live drone footage that we have just received into our newsroom here. The time right now, 12:55. This is kind of shows the scope of the entirety of how big this campus is really here at Abundant Life Christian. You see, you have City Church Madison, where we know a lot of the students were ushered out of the doors into as a safe place coming out of this school when that first report came in just before 11 a.m. So if we could show that one more time, it gives an aerial view of just the scope of the school there.
We are learning within the last 20 minutes. Abundant Life Christian School has posted to their social media page. This is the first time since, actually it's the first time today that we have heard from the school. They are writing, prayers requested. Today we had an active shooter incident at ALCS, Abundant Life Christian School. We are in the midst of following up. We will share information as we are able. Please pray for our Challenger family. So again, this is a private Christian school. They are asking their community to pray for them. They are asking people who live in Madison to say prayers as they begin to understand what happened, and many people asking why this has happened. This is something we don't know right now. And so the K through 12 school, that means there are students of all different ages, many teachers and staff there as well. We do not know where those staff members are. We are working to learn more information, but again, the school calling on their faith community to pray for them during this difficult time. So let's turn it now to our Tim Elliott once again, who is live outside that reunification site. Tim.
Yeah, I'm going to step out of the way right away here so you can kind of see what's happening behind me at this SSM Health Clinic on the intersection of Buckeye Road and Stoughton Road. As you can see in the distance up there, there's a lot of emergency personnel still on the scene, huddled together, talking together. Parents, the flow of parents has pretty much subsided here, as far as parents arriving on the scene, looking to reunite with their student, or at least looking to get some information here regarding what is happening here. I see one parent that I did speak with earlier. He told me that he has 2 kids that go to this school. He's terrified right now. I'm sure that's the emotion a lot of these parents are experiencing as they await more information. But we know that 4 students were shot and killed here at Abundant Life Christian School. The shooter then taking their own life. So a total of 5 people killed earlier this morning on Madison's east side, inside that school. A lot of the students there obviously terrified about what happened here. They were probably unsure what was happening as it was going on, and now parents are getting that phone call that no parent wants to get, where it's, hey, there's been a shooting at your student's school, you need to come here quick. And that's exactly what a lot of these parents did. They showed up frantic. They showed up as fast as they could. I witnessed a lot of them running from their cars, running into the clinic there across the street, but also a lot of them running up the sidewalk toward the school, obviously unaware that they were supposed to go inside this clinic here for the information that they're after. But again, it's going to be a long day of trying to sort out everything that's happened so far this morning. These parents, dropping their kids off to school Monday morning, just like they do every day, and expecting to pick them up in the afternoon. And then have to deal with this is just So hard to process for a lot of people. It's a terrible day, as Chief Sean Barnes had mentioned. This community suffers as a whole when something like this happens, especially when you have 4 people killed. And those 4 victims, we don't have any information on them, whether they're students or teachers or a mixture of both. We're still trying to get that information, but Chief Barnes says he's going to be giving another press conference later today at around 2:30 in the afternoon. So we'll update the media then on what any new information that he has. Hopefully that'll come soon at 2:30, some more information, but we'll have to wait and see. But for now, we're going to stay on the scene here and try to get some parents to talk to us exactly about what they're feeling in this moment. But parents, for the most part, have stayed across the street at that clinic. So hopefully we can catch 1 or 2 as they leave here, maybe to head back to their car real quick or something like that. So we'll check in with them. But for now, Phoebe and Gabriella, we'll send it back to you in the studio.
Okay, Tim, thank you for that live report. And just to jump on one point that Tim made there, we do know that 5 people have died, one of which was the shooter. In the press conference, Chief Sean Barnes made it a point to say that Madison police did not fire their weapons, so we can only infer that the shooter, who he believes was a student, took their own life there this morning.
Yeah, information is coming in by the minute. Let's show you that statement from the school once again. This is the first time that we're hearing from the school since 10:57 this morning when that shooting happened. They are writing on Facebook, prayers requested. Today we had an active shooter incident at ALCS. We are in the midst of following up. We will share information as we are able. Please pray for our Challenger Academy. Challenger family. So again, this is a group, a K through 12 school, a private Christian school. And we saw some drone footage moments ago just to give you an idea of this fairly large campus, which now authorities have to work to secure that entire perimeter. They have to go into every single building in the school, the cafeteria, the library, the gym. Here's that footage for you right now. And then they have to go into the parking lot and see if there's any evidence that they need to collect, as this is an investigation with 5 people killed, 5 others hurt. They need to collect as much evidence as they can. They need to piece together what happened, what led up to this shooting, what the motive was for this shooting. Again, the police chief saying that the shooter was a student at the school, and so needs to talk with teachers involved, staff members involved, and check in on those students who are, as we've been talking so much about the parents trying to connect with their students, so many of those kids are waiting in places that is not their classroom, wanting to know what's going on, wanting to know what's happened, wanting a hug from mom and dad. And so that's something that they have to wait for until police complete their investigation. And that's going to be one of the most difficult parts here is playing that waiting game and waiting until it is safe to do so and to see their mom and dad once again on what is the last week of break before break. They were planning to enjoy this last week before the holiday break, and now they're dealing with something so much different.
And again, if you do not have any connection or any students or know anyone who goes to this school or is connected to this school in any way, one way that authorities on the ground at the scene are asking you to help out is to avoid the area. As you can see from those live shots, Tim, Elizabeth, it is very congested, not only by the Reunification Center, but also from that drone footage you saw, just the scope of the responding emergency crews. So in addition to the prayers, you can also avoid that area for now. And to touch on something that Gabriella brought up a little bit earlier, from our live shot through Elizabeth Wattis, we could kind of see just the scope of what they were trying to do now in their thoroughness of that investigation. We know that federal agencies are now involved. We have the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Not too long ago, we saw K-9 units and a bomb squad taking a lap around the school, all out of an abundance of caution. To be clear, there is no bomb threat. They are doing their due diligence now, and we know we have Fitzrona, we've got Monona, we have the FBI, you have Dane County Sheriff's, Madison Police, really just an all hands on deck situation here this morning on Madison's east side.
And we are getting information by the minute, so we're doing our best to bring it to you as we learn it. We did just get a statement from the Department of Public Instruction from the state superintendent, Dr. Jill Underly. She released a statement regarding the school shooting, and I'll read it to you now. It says, quote, "Our hearts are heavy with great sorrow as we mourn the senseless loss of life in yet another school shooting. No community should ever face the pain of losing children, teachers, or friends to violence, especially in our schools. Our schools are meant to be safe places." And Dr. Underly going on to say in this statement, quote, "This tragedy is a stark reminder that we must do more to protect our children and our educators to ensure that such horrors never happen again. We will not rest until we find solutions that make our schools safe and so our children feel secure." And that statement continues saying that together we will stand strong and demand the safety our children deserve. And this is something that every single parent thinks about as they send their child to school, the risk of a school shooting. My husband works in a school as a high school counselor. It's something I think about every day as he works with students. And so, working with students and parents and teachers, this is something that affects so many of us and is something that is such a reality in our country right now. And so there will be many questions over the next few hours, but there will be, many hopefully answers as well as people coming together to support one another and to pray together as we face this tragedy here in our own backyard.
And we know that this school was a private Christian school. We know that they will be turning to prayer in the coming hours, if they have not already, coming days as well, as that is part of their Christian faith here. But again, kind of an unimaginable tragedy there this morning. You're taking a live look at the drone footage. We do have our Tim Elliott, who is back at that Reunification Center. And Tim, what are you able to share with us here?
Yeah, we're kind of in this holding pattern right now. I think we had that press conference from Chief Sean Barnes at about 12:30, so not that long ago, about a half hour ago. That's when he briefed us with the numbers. We know that 4 people are dead, shot and killed by the shooter then taking their own life. So we know that 5 people in all are dead. We also know 5 more people taken to the hospital with injuries ranging from minor to life-threatening, the chief said. So that's where we're at right now. Where I'm at right now, this is Stoughton Road and Buckeye Road, the intersection. This is where parents have been told all morning long to come and reunite with their student, hopefully here, as they gather information to police. I haven't seen any students here like physically being reunited with their parents, but the parents have been going in, and I haven't been seeing many parents come out. So police are actually telling us to stay on this side of the street. They don't want us bothering those parents right now. They think that they want to leave the parents enough time to process what's happening right now. So they're asking the media to be respectful of that. But we've seen plenty of parents park across the street here, run across the street. But again, the number of parents showing up here, that number has subsided. The flow of parents has subsided. Pretty much everyone who showed up earlier is in that building right now. I haven't seen many people come out of it right now. But again, authorities are directing people here at the intersection of Buckeye Road and Stoughton Road where to go. The intersection congested right now with emergency vehicles. Also, the school right up the road here to my right. So this is kind of the intermediary between the school and parents when they turn right here onto Buckeye Road. So we're going to stay here on the scene. Not quite sure what the plan is for parents going forward here, if they're staying in there until their students physically get dropped off here. If that's how it's going to work, we're going to have to wait and see. But again, we're kind of in this holding pattern at the moment as we wait to hear from some parents about what the process is here going forward. Reporting live from the east side, I'm Tim Elliott for 15 News. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Tim, we do have a correction from Madison Police just into our newsroom. Madison Police shared that 3 people are dead, writing that during that media briefing that we brought to you live, they had said that 5 people were dead, but they are correcting what they said during that press conference, now saying 3 people have died, 9 in total are injured, including the 3 who have died. So that's a new information. Madison Police correcting the earlier reporting that they shared with us. And so they're also telling parents and guardians to go to Dean Clinic, the location where Tim was just moments ago, 1821 1821 South Stoughton Road. That's the reunification site.
Okay, we do want to turn now to our Elizabeth Wattis, who is just outside the school grounds. What are you able to share with us now, Elizabeth?
A few quick updates, changes in the scene here at the school. You can see that there are, seems like community members bringing carts of bottled water to first responders. Just an example of the community really stepping up in these difficult times. You see that cart going right there. And we also wanted to tell you and shift our focus down this very busy street lined with all of these officers. We did notice that 2 city buses are now on scene, and the sign on top reads "not in service." Sometimes city buses come to emergency situations to, be warming centers for first responders or community members, something like that. But we haven't seen anybody go in and out. We are wondering if these are going to be the vehicles that they transport the children that may be in the church that ran over there during the active shooter situation. Maybe they will be transporting students in these buses to the Reunification Center, where Tim is, about a half a mile away here from the scene at Abundant Life Christian School. So, really in these times, we are looking for little glimmers of hope, little glimmers of people coming together, and we are starting to see that here on scene. I wanted to bring your attention to that. And again, we know that police are still combing the school right now for trying to eliminate any threat that might be possible. So they have their bomb-sniffing dogs in there. The ATF is here. A lot of police presence. There are cones set up as well, and the parking lots, again, are taped off with that emergency yellow tape. So we will continue to bring you updates here on scene. But for now, reporting live in Madison, Elizabeth Wattis, WMTV 15 News.
Elizabeth, thank you. And where she is right now, across from Abundant Life Christian School, is a neighborhood of families and people who live along East Buckeye Road. So they're very familiar with the school, live in a school zone, see students get dropped off every single day. And we saw those people bring water into that church. So it's moments like these where we try and look for the helpers, that water likely going to the students who are waiting inside that school right now to be reunified with their parents. This is a long process that's involved in getting parents and students connected once again. And so, all of this information sort of coming into our newsroom as we do have crews on the scene working to figure out what's going on, what they're seeing, hearing from parents and neighbors who are watching what's happening as well.
And we do want to share, if you were just joining us after that live report from our Elizabeth Wattis, in the last 5 minutes, Madison police, they have issued an update. An update to a previous statement that they had made regarding the fatalities from this school shooting. So right now, as it stands, we know that 3 people were killed, including the shooter, who the police chief believes to be a student there at the school. So that is 3 deaths here. Previously reported by Madison police, that number was 5.
And we do not know at this time. We have been asking Madison police for more information on those people. We do not know their ages, what grade level they were in, if they were teachers or staff or students. So that's information that likely will come out in the next few hours. The next update from Madison police is at 2:30. So again, this all started at 10:57 this morning, just before 11. That's when police first responded. So they've been on scene for several hours now, and they'll likely continue to be on scene into the evening hours. And so East Buckeye Road, if this is part of maybe your evening commute, if you're watching this and you do not have a connection to the school, that's an area they're asking you to avoid right now, because they want to make sure that they can get first responders to where they need to be, that they can get any federal agencies who are on scene part of this investigation. And let's go back to our Elizabeth Wattis. Elizabeth, do you have new information for us?
Yeah, I just wanted to draw attention. 3 buses are here now. Correction from my previous report when I said there were 2. They are now lined up in the street. As you can see, that one in the front, and then there are 2 behind. Again, what I can read from the sign, it says "not in service." We are predicting that this is the vehicles that are going to be taking the children to be reunited with their family. We have not seen any kids exit the building just yet, but really there's a lot of activity and police around there. Even there's a Salvation Army vehicle that is in front of that church as well. Again, if you're just joining us, this is the church. Abundant Life Christian School is about a football field away across the parking lot. So we are showing you the church right now. This is where we think the children are. We know that groups of them went into that church escorted by police just moments after the active shooter situation for safety. So that is where children were. So again, we will keep you updated. Those buses, though, are lining up. That's an update here from the scene. And we will keep you posted with what we see, what we hear, and what we learn on scene. But for now, reporting live, Elizabeth Wattis, WMTV 15 News.
Elizabeth, thank you for that live report and that update. Nice to see that immediately neighbors are stepping in to help one another. Not too long ago, we saw some neighbors as well pushing a cart full of water to those first responders who have now been on the scene for a little bit over 2 hours. That first report of the call coming in just before 11 a.m. this morning. And Tim Elliott and Elizabeth Wattis have been working to speak with parents and neighbors who are close to this school, close to this location. And as you can imagine, many of them maybe not wanting to speak at this time, understandably so, but those who have chosen to share how they're feeling with us, it's just been an ongoing, unnerving situation. And the one neighbor that Elizabeth spoke with a little bit earlier, his name was John, he said that he didn't know that there were that many squad cars in Madison as he was kind of watching this situation unfold, and all of these emergency agencies quickly responding to the school. We know that it has now involved federal agencies. We know that ATF is there. They have K9, they have bomb units. Really an all hands on deck type of situation right now as that investigation continues here very early on. It happened not too long ago, Gabriella.
Yes, and so it will continue in the next few hours. Authorities are working to clear the school right now to account for all of those students and staff members, to get witness statements and reports. But as we're learning new information, so are our lawmakers. So we do have some statements from our lawmakers as well as they are learning this new information, including Senator Ron Johnson. He was one of the first people that we heard from. He writes, quote, "My sincere apologies and prayers for all of the victims of the tragedy at Abundant Life Christian School." And we also heard from Congressman Mark Pocan. He also shared a statement writing, quote, "We will continue to monitor the situation and offer any assistance we can provide to our first responders." Now, we know that Governor Evers as well has released a statement. He writes, quote, "We are praying for the kids, educators, and the entire Abundant Life school community as we wait more information." Let's go now to our Tim Elliott, if he is available. He says that he has a parent who has been, who is waiting to speak with him. Tim, are you available right now? Looks like there's a parent talking.
Yes, I'm available. I'm sorry. Yeah, I just stopped and talked with this parent right here. Bethany, do you mind if I grab you real quick and chat with you? Okay. You're a parent here of a student at Abundant Life Christian Church. Can you tell us what happened here this morning?
I don't have a lot of information. I just know there was an active shooter, and that's about it. I really don't have a ton to say. All I know is that it was a traumatic experience that I had to get here as soon as possible, as close as I possibly could. And that's about it. I mean, I know that my daughter is safe from what I've heard, and I have a peace in knowing that. My heart and my prayers go out to everyone affected in this, all the parents, the children.
Did you get a chance to speak with your daughter?
I did have a brief second that I did get to talk to her.
And what was that like?
Surreal. You don't think you're gonna go through this, you know. And like I've said before, I bring my daughter to school knowing well that this happens in the world, that people are struggling, and I pray for my daughter's safety. I pray for the entire school's safety. I pray for the hearts of the students, the teachers, the staff members. It's a very real thing, and I'm very aware that the world is like this, but my faith lies in God alone, and I have that peace knowing that He is gracious to us, and that's how I'm getting through this.
How old is your daughter?
I would rather not.
Sure. That's
disclose
okay.
that.
What do you plan on talking with her about later today when you can finally be with her?
Just I'm going to just be there as much as I possibly can, allow her to really open up in any way she wants to, help her know there's a safe place she can tell me anything if she needs to, and if she's not ready, I'm going to give her the space. I'm going to read her body language as much as I can, just to really be that safe spot for her. I'm going to pray with her. I'm going to remind her who our God is, that he is faithful, and do the best I can, you know.
Can you take me back to that moment this morning? Did you get a phone call saying there was a shooting at your daughter's school?
I did, from my mother, yeah.
And what was that moment like for you, hearing that?
She told me to stay calm, and I was assuming, you know, everything in the world but this, and yeah, not this. And as soon as it happened, I mean, your world, it stops for a minute. Everything is just, nothing else matters. There's nobody around you. You just bolt for the door and try to do everything you can as a parent to be by your kids.
Any emotions that you're feeling now? Are you angry at all? Do you feel any emotions that you weren't expecting?
There is a little bit of anger, obviously. You don't, I guess, of the unknown, not knowing why or why this happens. Obviously, heart-wrenching, you know, devastation for the families. I have that peace within me for my own family, but obviously you can't explain something that you're not going through. So I guess I'm just still trying to understand, navigate what's going on. It doesn't really seem real at this point.
And any message to the viewers at home who might be watching and, you know, feeling for you in this moment and your community?
The world is, stuff is going to happen. It's always going to happen. There's always a why. There's always kids that need something. The mental health in this country needs to change. God needs to be put first and foremost. He is good all the time, and I will stand on that. Nobody can prepare for the devastation that you're going to feel in your life, but one thing is true, and that's what I stand by.
All right, Bethany, thank you so much.
Bethany, are these conversations you've had with your kids in the past? I mean, have there been drills? Is this something that your child maybe had prepared for or trained for in any way?
The school does run training or drills, yeah. So they are. I haven't had to, I felt, really dive deep into this matter. I didn't want to scare her, but I am the type of person where I know that I need to be upfront with my kid about these types of things. I'm not fearful of that. I just want to make sure that she is in the right mindset and she's mature enough to be able to understand and really grasp the concept. I know the world is changing, these things are happening, and I'm very open with my kids. I try to be as honest as I can and appropriate as I can where they can understand it from their viewpoint. But Highman. Yes.
Where's your daughter right now?
I don't know if I'm supposed to disclose that information.
Did she give you any indication about what happened this morning?
It was very briefly, high and by, just to know she was okay.
And you gave her a hug?
I did not see her, no.
Didn't see her, but got to talk to her on the phone.
Yes.
What updates are you hearing at this point? I mean, what are the next steps as a mom that you're expecting? What are you waiting for right now?
Personally?
Yeah.
Oof. I don't know who's prepared for any of this, really. I don't know what to do. I'm gonna just gather with community, family, with my daughter, and I would rather, you know, as far as like physical steps I'm gonna take right now, I'd rather keep that.
And what about just, you know, as a parent in general, is the district keeping you updated? What have you heard, and what are the next steps as you wait for answers?
Nothing definite. Honestly, nothing definite right now. So we are just waiting, praying, and that's all I can say about that. I am not disclosing her age. Bethany Highman.
Bethany, thank you.
Thank
You so much. All right, so parents have to go through something as terrible as this on this Monday here in Madison. You heard Bethany, behind the scenes look at what happened this morning for her. She got that phone call from her mother saying there was a shooting at her daughter's school. She rushed over here and was able to have a quick second on the phone with her daughter. So you definitely feel for people like Bethany, those parents having to go through something as awful as what they've gone through today. But we're going to stay here on the scene, try to talk to some more parents as well as they kind of trickle out of this clinic over here on the east side of Madison. But for now, I'm Tim Elliott reporting on the east side. We'll send it back to you in the studio.
An emotional interview to be listening to there, but admiring her strength also as she's speaking of already the steps that she's going to be taking with her daughter to explain what has happened. Sounds like some of those precautions had already been taken leading up to this day in the hopes that something like this would never happen. But she did touch on needing a mental health shift in this country and really leaning into her faith right now, as this is a private Christian school, K through 12 here. But again, really just emphasizing her heart going out to the mental health of people in this country. And then again, just leaning into that faith now.
And that parent was able to speak with her daughter over the phone, so relief hearing her daughter's voice, a quick conversation, but has not yet been able to see her daughter. Many parents are still waiting to be reunified with their children. As of right now, all of these buses, we believe, are carrying those children to the reunification site. So we are under the impression that the students have been held at other locations, including City Church of Madison, and then they're being taken to that reunification site to meet up with their parents. So police trying to get parents as much as they can able to speak with their children over the phone to give them that sense of relief. But again, no parents have been able to say hello to their students in person, their children in person just yet. Elizabeth, you saw that bus go by. Did you see any students on that bus yet?
Yeah, we didn't want to show the zoom in on the people on the bus for privacy reasons, of course, but as it was passing, I was able to see there were tiny children on that bus, definitely grade schoolers, elementary, and a bunch of police as well. There were adults holding those children tightly. They all looked safe, and they are headed to that reunification center where Tim is, about a half a mile away. There are still 2 more buses waiting to load kids on them. Again, they're doing it in a way that, police are blocking that off for good reason, giving those students some space there. And then again, the buses will take this route and go down the road, as you just saw that first one, bringing kids to their parents at the reunification center. We will keep you updated, but that is the big thing going on right here. They're taking kids that have been housed for safety in the church onto the city buses back to their parents. So we hope that they are reunified very, very soon. For now, reporting live in Madison, Elizabeth Wattis, WMTV 15 News.
All good information there, Elizabeth. Thank you. We do want to turn right now to our Tim Elliott with some new information. Tim?
Yes, we just saw one of those city buses that Elizabeth was just talking about pull into this parking lot, about to pull into the parking lot here of this SSM Health Clinic. I looked inside the bus. There seemed to be students inside that bus. They are now being hopefully reunified with their parents. This is the very first bus that I've seen come through. It's a pretty large bus. Looks like a double back-to-back bus right here, a Metro City bus, and it is going to go straight, it looks like, to the lobby, the front doors of this SSM Health Dean Medical Group clinic right here. As parents, we know, have been waiting inside this clinic for quite some time, hours on end now, just hoping to be reunited with their parents. We spoke, or with their children. We spoke with that one parent who said she was able to speak briefly with her child over the phone, but that was it. And you got to imagine that a lot of these parents are going to be given pretty big hugs here in just a couple of seconds as this bus looks like it's coming to a stop here. And the doors are opening. I don't know if we can't get a good vantage point shot from right here. We are kind of far away, and there are several vehicles blocking our viewpoint, I believe. But I do see the door is now open, and it looks like some people are heading on right now. It looks like some Madison police officers might be boarding that bus, probably going to let the kids know what the next step is. So yeah, we're not going to show the kids' faces here as they get off the bus, if they get off right here or if they pull a little closer to the clinic right there. But that seems to be what's happening right now, is that these students are being bussed in here from the school, which is just a half mile or a little bit more up the road here, on the bus where it's warm, and then they'll be taken right here to this clinic where they will be reunified with their parents. So that's going to be certainly a happy moment for a lot of parents and their children. That hug, I got to imagine, got to feel like the best hug you've ever gotten if you are going through something like this with your child being away for several hours after terrible news like this happening. But yeah, that's the first bus. There looks to be a comfort dog as well. I just saw a comfort dog. I hear a couple of them barking too. Yeah, a couple of comfort dogs are on the scene. A lot of those police departments employ comfort canines, where they come on the scene and they help alleviate some of the anxiety and fear and stress that comes along with a traumatic situation like this. So those golden retriever dogs are now on the scene as well, as these parents and students get ready to reunite for the first time since this morning when they dropped them off for school. So we'll stay here on the scene and keep you updated on what's happening. But for now, we'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Yeah, Tim, you mentioned those therapy dogs. So many of those students that Elizabeth did see on the bus arriving to that reunification point were elementary students, tiny little students asking questions, not knowing maybe what's going on, or wanting to know where their parents are. And so dogs like that can provide such comfort during a scary time, as well as Madison police officers. We saw them board that bus, hopefully being able to explain to those children a little bit of what's going to happen next. And so where that location is, if you are a parent or a grandparent maybe watching this and you don't know where this reunification site is, the address is 1821 1821 South Stoughton Road. It's the Dean Clinic. So they are allowing parents and guardians onto that property to reunite with their children. And here is a map. Yes, we do have the map now where you can sort of see where the school is in relation to the Unification Center. We believe it's about a mile across, a mile apart, less than even. So close by to the school. They're trying to keep as many people away from the school campus as possible. But again, that address for you one more time, it's the Dean Clinic on South Stoughton Road, 1821 South Stoughton Road, the Reunification Center.
And we do want to share some more reaction that has been coming into our newsroom here really by the minute from across the country.
Well, we do have, first, before we get to national reaction, we also have a statement from UW Health. Now, UW Health shares with us that they are receiving patients from today's shooting at Abundant Life Christian School, saying that areas are being set up at the hospital, UW Hospital, for patient families. So Madison Police will be providing more information, but we do know that those 6 people who were injured are being treated by UW Health hospitals, so hopefully receiving the care that they need to recover.
Okay, yes, and we do want to build on that, because we have heard from a number of people, including Congressman Pocan. We've heard from Senator Ron Johnson from the White House as well, who is letting us know that the president has been briefed on this shooting here this morning, about a week removed from Christmas Day. Again, if you are just joining us, there was an active shooter situation here at Abundant Life Christian Madison School on Madison's east side. That first report coming in just before 11 a.m. And it's hitting home for a lot of people, as this has become, unfortunately, a norm of coverage across our country. But as I mentioned just a couple minutes ago, some of that reaction is coming in. So I would like to share a couple of statements here. In addition to Senator Ron Johnson, we're hearing from former Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords, founder of the National Gun Violence Prevention Organization, here just in the last couple minutes, sharing, quote, just days after we remembered the 26 lives lost at Sandy Hook Elementary School, and other school community has been subjected to the terror of a mass shooting in Madison. Students deserve to attend school free from gun violence, but in our country, it is the #1 killer of children. End quote there from the former Congresswoman, but just shows to the effect, the amount of people that are weighing in right now. We do know that this was a Christian school here on Madison's east side. Roughly 200 families attending K through 12.
And let's go now to our Elizabeth Wattis, who is standing by outside of that Abundant Life Christian School. Elizabeth, have you seen more students board buses to that reunification site? We saw one when we checked in with you last.
Gabriella, it seems like there's a pause in loading the buses. There are still 2 of those big city buses not in service as it reads up there. So we're expecting them to take kids out again and load those buses, and then they'll drive a half-mile away to where Tim is, to that reunification point. I did want to point out just kind of the nature of this school, this church, and the relation to the neighbors I talked to today. I think every single person I talked to, no matter if they had a current student at the school or if they were a church member, this is really a community center. Everybody in this neighborhood that I talked to has a connection to this school. They either had kids go there, they went there themselves, or they go to this church. And again, a good reminder, this school doesn't only have students from this particular church. 56 different church communities from around Dane County. That is the makeup of the 200 families that go to this school. This school is their community, and everybody is so connected here. People are texting. They know the teachers inside, the principal, things like that, trying to gather information. So this school, this church means a lot to the neighbors in this area. Now, we are keeping a close eye again on those buses, as you can see back there, those city buses that are not in service. We believe that there are more children inside the church. That is what we were looking at. The church and the school are about a football field apart from each other. So we believe they will continue loading that bus. And again, you saw that bus pass us by. I think they're going to do that for the 2 remaining buses here, but we will remain on scene and bring you up to date with any more information we hear. But for now, reporting live in Madison, Elizabeth Wattis, WMTV 15 News.
Elizabeth, I do have a question for you. When you saw those students on the bus, you know, what were their emotions? Were they scared? You know, what were you able to see from where you were standing and the students that were on the bus?
You know, Gabriella, I saw police officers first. They were standing, kind of holding those railings on the bus. And then the thing is, I was looking around for students, and I noticed they're so small that I couldn't even barely see their heads over the seat. So that's how I knew that they're elementary students, just small little bodies. A lot of them are being held by older adults, you know, kind of pointing at the cameras and things out there. I think just kind of trying to explain to them what was going on. I didn't see really, I couldn't get a good look of their emotion or anything like that because they went by so quickly. But again, what
looks like we're having an issue with Elizabeth's connection there, so we'll check in with her once she is back up and running. But again, she's reiterating for us, elementary school students, a busload of them are safe. They are now at the reunification site to be reunited with their parents very soon. We heard from a parent who said that they were able to speak with their daughter over the phone. So parents have yet to be able to hug their child and give them a big hug and tell them everything is okay. And so that's a moment that many parents are patiently waiting for right now, and that they will have to wait just a little bit longer. As you see the effort here, the city bus is helping with this. So this is a huge effort from many different agencies, all of it to account for the safety of students.
We do want to turn now to our Tim Elliott to watch that first bus pull into the health clinic there on Stoughton Road. Tim, we know that a number of children got off of that bus. Were you able to see their reactions, those Madison police officers, as they started to reunite?
Yeah, I think the police are trying to keep that moment between parents and their children as private as possible. We can't get a good vantage point over there. It's kind of farther away, and there's a bunch of vehicles in the parking lot, pretty much just blocking our view at the moment. But we know those reunions are happening. Hopefully right now inside the lobby right there, maybe even inside the bus, as parents eagerly await that moment when they can hug their child once again after having probably the worst morning, the worst day of their lives, running over here as fast as they can, frantically trying to figure out what was going on. We saw parents here earlier this morning that were parking and getting out of their car and running up the road toward the school, not knowing that they were supposed to go here to the clinic, and this is where they were going to be briefed by authorities, and they were going to tell them, hey, this is the plan going forward as we kind of work through something like this. There's steps that have to be they have to go through when something like this happens. Students have to be accounted for, make sure everybody's safe. They were taken out of the building, we know that, and eventually put on these buses, well, this first bus over here, and then brought here to this Dean Health Clinic just on the intersection of Badger Road and Stoughton, or excuse me, Buckeye Road and Buckeye Road and Stoughton Road, excuse me. But yes, this is the good part of today, this moment of beautiful reuniting between parents and kids. An absolute tragedy this morning, though. Don't want to miss that, though, that 3 people are dead, 2 of them shot and killed, the 3rd person, the shooter, taking their own life. And we know that several more injured. And at the hospital at this moment, some of them suffering minor injuries. The chief said anywhere from minor injuries to life-threatening injuries. So a lot of people still having a pretty rough time with what's happening here. It's hard to process for a lot of these parents. It's overwhelming. It's hard to think about where you go from here. You know, we spoke with that one parent who I asked her, what are you going to do when you get home with your daughter who has just been through something as traumatic as this? And she had kind of mentioned, I'm just going to kind of feel her out, look at her body language, see how she's doing. But I'll ask her what she wants, what she may need, and let her go through her process. So it's so fresh, it's so new for a lot of these students, a lot of these parents. They see it on the news way too often these days that something like this happens at a school somewhere far away, but today it's happened right here in Madison at their school, at Abundant Life Christian School. So a difficult day for many, but also a beautiful moment hopefully happening for a lot of parents where they get to grab their child and know that they can tuck them in safely in bed tonight. So that's what a lot of parents are doing right now, and we're anticipating hopefully more buses coming this way, as we know that a lot of kids went to that school right up there, just up the road here on Buckeye Road. So we'll send it back to you in the studio, Gabriella and Phoebe. I'll stay here on the scene and hopefully maybe talk with another parent or two.
The silver lining there, Tim. Thank you. And to piggyback off of something that Tim said a little bit earlier when he was speaking to Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes, he asked him in the moment how he's feeling right now when we received that update on the number of fatalities from this morning. And Chief Barnes went on to say dismayed, and he said that everyone in that victim this morning and for the rest of their lives are going to be victims. That's the students, that's the teachers, that's the staff, that's the first responders who are doing their job to keep these kids safe, to get these kids out of the school as that investigation continues. But it just puts things into a little bit of perspective as Elizabeth and Tim are watching these little ones on the bus here this morning. And if you are a parent, again, our hearts are going out to you guys. But again, the biggest piece of information here is that Reunification Center there right off of Stoughton Road.
Let's now go to our Elizabeth Wattis, who is standing by. Elizabeth, you're across from City Church Madison, which is directly next to Abundant Life Christian School. We just want to give people an idea of where exactly you are in relation to East Buckeye Road.
Yeah, I'm about half a mile away from that Reunification Center. The school is just in front of me, and that church is what you see behind me. I have a really small update that might seem insignificant, but I think parents would like to know this. A police car just pulled up. They opened the trunk. I thought there would be tools. We've seen a lot of guns, you know, from the scene, but something different. They were pulling out pizzas from the trunk of the car. So parents, if you're watching, the people and the things that we've seen go inside of the church where we believe the children are, they're being fed right now. Probably, if we put the pieces together, the truck was filled with pizzas and other bags, so it seems like maybe they're eating right now. We've also seen people with bottled water coming and going to the scene as well. Those helpers, like Gabriella mentioned, pointing out there. Now, we've also seen people in vests that help in situations like this with mental health, if the kids need talking to, or, you know, just to kind of distract them from the situation, whatever the need is right now for the children, that is what first responders are focusing on, making sure that they feel safe inside that building, because right now it is probably really scary because they're not in school like they normally would be, and they're not with their parents yet. So I think that they're trying to make sure the kids are comfortable and safe. So pizza time here inside the church, and I will keep you posted again on the bus situation. We saw one bus go by with tiny children on there, with adults and police officers accompanying them as well. There are 2 more city buses behind me, so we are anticipating that they will begin loading those as well and getting even more kids to their parents as soon as possible. Reporting live here in Madison, Elizabeth Wattis, WMTV 15 News.
Elizabeth, thank you. And this is a K through 12 school, so we're understanding possibly from authorities that they may be going from kindergarten through 12th grade and reuniting those children with their parents. And so this all unfolded at 10:57 this morning during what many students would be eating lunch. So they're providing students with food and water as they haven't had it, but possibly yet today. And so, yeah, that's a good update for those students who may be waiting in that church. And we do know that there has been one busload of what we expect elementary, likely kindergarten students. We don't have that confirmed, but likely youngest students were taken to that reunification site first. So it's possible that they could be going grade by grade in bringing students back to their parents. And so this is something, you know, that they are trying to make an efficient process for families and make sure that, again, safety is the top priority here to make sure all of those students are accounted for.
Again, we do know that the student was most likely, or the shooter rather, was most likely a student at the school. In an update from Police Chief Sean Barnes earlier, that's what he signaled to when he said that no one on his team fired a weapon. We know that there were 3 fatalities, one of which was the shooter there. So we can presume that the shooter did take their own life. We don't know their age. We don't know their name. Again, police are working as we are trying to report back to you guys, working to contact the families of these people who have been affected.
And as we've been on scene, Elizabeth Wattis and our Tim Elliott have been speaking with people who have been watching what's unfolded. Here's a piece of an interview from earlier today from someone that lives nearby Abundant Life Christian School.
I didn't want to believe it. First, I thought it was an accident. And then when I heard shooter, maybe that's when the reality of this really sunk in.
And so that was Gary right there, who again lives near this school. He heard what had happened, likely heard the sirens coming from East Buckeye Road as all of these agencies and ambulances were responding to this incident unfolding in the 11 o'clock hour this morning. And so that's just one person that we've heard from. We heard from another person that Elizabeth spoke with. His name was John. He said that his kids are grown up now, but they attended Abundant Life Christian School at one point, and he still goes to church at City Church Madison right there on East Buckeye Road. He said that he cannot believe that this has happened, and that he feels for all of those parents, that he will turn to his faith as well. And so in thinking of those parents, we do want to bring up once again that reunification site for you, East Buckeye Road. It's about a half mile away from the school. East Buckeye Road is where the school is, and the reunification site, that address is the Dean Clinic, 1821 South Stoughton Road. So just off of East Buckeye Road, again, about a half mile away from that school. Now, if you had an appointment at Dean Clinic today, it's closed now. The clinic is closed as they will be fully focusing on being a reunification site for students and families for Abundant Life Christian School. So do not go to this area if you had any sort of appointment later on today.
We also do want to mention that in roughly 40 minutes, we are expecting to hear another update from Madison Police. We heard from them a little bit earlier, 12:15 roughly, from Madison Police Chief giving us the initial updates on those fatalities. We know that 3 people are dead, including the shooter. We know that 6 other people are injured, whether they're staff, students, or teachers. That is all information that we are working to find out here. We do want to turn to our Tim Elliott, who is joining us again here live from the reunification point just off of Stoughton Road. Hi, Tim.
Yeah, I spoke with a parent not long ago. She was walking up to the scene after walking this area. She says she was able to speak with her child on the phone. She wasn't able to see her in person, but was able to speak with her over the phone very briefly and was able to check in with her daughter. Her daughter is safe, and she was just absolutely ecstatic that her daughter is okay. So that's hopefully what some parents are experiencing right now behind me at this SSM Health Clinic here at the intersection of Stoughton Road and Buckeye Road, where parents are being slowly reunited with their children. We saw a bus pull up here, a Metro City bus pull up and park in this parking lot. It looked like there were students in that bus. It was a rather large bus, so a lot of kids were inside. And hopefully those children are being reunited with their families right now. We still know a lot of kids are still down there where Elizabeth was reporting from earlier this morning, so they're not here yet, but hopefully those city buses are making the rounds and they'll be here with their parents very shortly. But we are expecting to hear once again from Chief Sean Barnes here, hopefully shortly in about 40 minutes or so. He briefed the media at around 12:15, 12:30 today and told us that there would be another media briefing around 2:30. We do know that 3 people are dead. One of those people includes the shooter. We don't know the other 2 victims, if they're students, teachers, or what grade they are in, how old they are, boy or girl. We don't have any of that information. So that's the kind of information we're looking to confirm next, hopefully when we hear from the chief around 2:30. Another thing that we're looking here for is parents who are walking up, being reunited with their children. Again, I spoke with that one parent, but most of the parents have been inside that building for a few hours now as they await information and their student to arrive here at the clinic here at the intersection of Stoughton Road and Buckeye Road. So a very fluid situation. Early on when we got here, authorities were trying to figure out what the best way was to tackle this, with media arriving on the scene, multiple different law enforcement agencies arriving on the scene, and of course hordes of family who were family members and parents and friends who were showing up, just trying to get answers and trying to get their loved ones in their arms here. But we were told the media staging area was there. We were then shortly kicked out of that parking lot of the clinic because they want to give parents and students some privacy as they have that reunification moment that is going to be oh so special for those parents and those students to hold their children once again. A lot of these parents, dropped their children off at school earlier this morning, just a few hours before they came rushing back to this school, to this area, to see if their child was okay. So we're hoping to speak with parents after they get reunited with their children, because that for sure is going to be a special moment on a day like today, and with Christmas taking place next week, the holidays maybe a little extra special for those families who are coming together. This school, just a half mile or so up the road, a Christian school. A lot of the parents I spoke with, several of them, their faith playing a role in this morning. So definitely a difficult day for a lot of people, but they are relying on their faith as they move forward here today. Reporting live from the east side, I'm Tim Elliott for 15 News. We'll send it back to you, Gabriella and Phoebe, in the studio.
All right, Tim, thank you. Yes, as many parents are feeling the joy of being reunited with their children, we also know that there are people who are being treated right now at UW Health, as 6 people are injured in this shooting. And so they are being treated. They are, UW Health released a statement earlier today saying that they have been receiving patients from today's shooting and that areas are being set up for patient families. So those families are now praying for the recovery of those people who were injured. We do not know any details about the people who were killed or the people who were injured. That's something that we're working to learn. We don't know if they were students or staff or possibly other people who worked at the school. And we do know that their injuries range from minor to life-threatening. Again, we were told from Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes that when officers arrived on scene for the first report of this shooting, they found multiple people with gunshot wounds, and they tried their best to administer life-saving measures as quickly as possible. So those, hopefully we'll get an update on those patients who have been injured. 2:30 is when we were told that we would be hearing more from Madison Police, and so hopefully we'll learn more information, especially on the conditions of those people who were injured.
Yeah, okay, so we just want to take a minute right here and say, if you are just joining us live, there was an active shooter situation this morning here on Madison's east side at Abundant Life Christian School. This is a private Christian school, K through 12. That first report came in just before 11 a.m. this morning, 10:57. We know that agencies, local, state, and federal, are all on scene currently investigating. We don't know what happened in the moments once officers arrived. We do know that as a result of this shooting, a lot of the students were escorted to a nearby church, which is also a part of the Christian campus. In droves, roughly 200 families go to that school. And again, as Gabriela mentioned, we know that 3 people are dead. We don't know their ages. We don't know if they were teachers, staff, students. 6 others have been taken to a nearby hospital for help.
We do know that the shooter is dead, and Police Chief Sean Barnes said that the shooter is a student.
Yes.
So we believe, because he said that Madison police did not fire their weapons, that the shooter shot and killed 2 people, injured 6 others, and took their own life. So again, this is something that we're working to learn more about. That's just the limited information that we have from Madison police so far today, as the Abundant Life Christian community comes together to grapple with this tragedy. We've heard from several lawmakers. This story is making national headlines. Another school shooting in the United States, and people are now knowing the name Madison, Wisconsin, and associating it with a school shooting. And so Abundant Life Christian School will have a difficult next few hours ahead. Right now, what's happening, they are working to reunify students with their parents. This is a K through 12 school, so this is a big undertaking in working to bring those students and parents together. Again, the focus is for all of those investigators who are on scene right now, all the different agencies that you mentioned, Phoebe. Their focus right now is to secure that school building, to make sure that it is safe, to account for all of the students, as many as they can, to collect evidence from this shooting. So again, we did hear from the school earlier today. They released a statement, and that was the first time that we had heard from the school since the shooting, asking the community for prayers. I'm just pulling up that statement right now. From Abundant Life Christian School, also known as ALCS. It reads, prayers requested. Today we had an active shooter incident at ALCS. We are in the midst of following up. We will share information as we are able. Please pray for our Challenger family. This was posted an hour ago. It already has over 1,000 likes on Facebook, as the community is just wondering what they can do to help this school. The school is answering by saying you can pray for us and come together with our community here.
And I think it's important to remember the kindness that is being shown here out of the tragedy. People are stepping up to already supply water bottles. The Metro Madison City bus is coming to take those students from the place that they were ushered to safety to be reunified with their parents. Our team, our live crew out there, has been speaking with parents and neighbors who are well integrated in that neighborhood, and that school means a lot to them. They know the students that get dropped off every day. They see them walking by, taking their bus. So it's not just another shooting that we're telling you about. These are our community members here in the Madison area. And you heard Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes ask for the community to be doing better, that we all need to step up. And yes, this is a really tough morning in a week that we know was leading into winter break for these students at the school. And so the fact that it's coming a week before Christmas is going to be really hard for a lot of families. And so I think we just need to remember that as we're moving through our reporting through this day, through showing a little kindness for everyone involved here.
And we did hear from our Tim Elliott, who was on scene earlier today, as some of those likely elementary students were brought to the reunification site. There were comfort dogs waiting for them, the golden retriever therapy dogs, waiting to give some comfort to these students who have gone through such an emotional day so far. Many of them have questions. They're so young that they may not fully understand what's going on. And we also heard from the parent that Tim spoke with saying, you know, she tries to have conversations with her daughter about the reality of a school school shooting. As many parents who might be watching this at home know, that is a line, a conversation in the world that we live in that you must have with your child of here's what you do, here's what can happen. But until it hits home here and you actually have to face it, that's something that is just so difficult. And so let's check in now with our Tim Elliott, who is at that reunification site, the Dean Clinic on South Stoughton Road. Tim, have you seen any more buses with students pull up in the last few minutes or so?
Yeah, I've been anticipating more buses coming this way with children from Abundant Life, which is just up the road here, but still it's just been the one bus thus far. That bus, though, was a considerable size, so there were quite a few students on that bus that were meeting up with their parents here at this lobby at this SSM Health Clinic. But again, yeah, just the one bus so far, but we know several hundred students go to that school, which is just up the road, K through 12, so you have a wide age range of children here that attend this school. But you alluded to that parent that I spoke about a little later this morning. When I first arrived on the scene, I found a father who was frantic. He was running up and down the street trying to find where he should go. He forgot his phone in his car. He ran back to get his phone. He said he was terrified. He's got two children that go to this school, and he was just trying to find out some information. He ran in the building, and I haven't seen him since. So I'm assuming he's still inside. Another parent, a mother, walked up, said she was able to speak with her daughter telling her she was okay. They weren't able to see each other in person, but were able to speak over the phone very briefly, and that's all that she needed, was to know that her daughter was okay and that she could and try to get some more information from the officers. But that reunification that we've been talking about all morning long, happening right here behind me inside this lobby, we're thinking, right at this health clinic behind me, which, as you mentioned, is now closed as well. And I heard you guys bring up the comfort dogs, the therapy dogs. I saw several of those dogs here in the parking lot heading on into the clinic. Those dogs, of course, used in emergency situations where trauma happens to children. They help relieve their stress, their anxiety during a terrible situation like this. I also heard you guys mention the cases of water that were being dropped off for the first responders up the road at the school. Those cases of water came from right here at this Quick Trip. We saw them wheeling it out on a cart and literally walking it up this big hill right here on this sidewalk, taking it to those first responders. So you guys mentioned in times of trouble, in times of bad things happening like this, look for the helpers, and those were definitely the helpers right there. So this is what happens after a situation goes down like this, a tragedy like this. People come together and they support one another, and we're seeing that here in the Madison community, and that's one thing you'd like to see when something as terrible as this happens today. But we're still awaiting an update from the Madison police chief. We're hoping to get that at around 2:30. We're told the press conference that's going to be taking place will be taking place at a fire station nearby, so we'll have a crew there that will bring you that information live as that happens in just a little bit here. But for now, the reunification process still taking place. It's been a slow burn for a lot of these parents who are probably very eager to get their hands around their children for probably the best hug they're ever going to get in their life, right here today behind me at the intersection of Stoughton Road and Buckeye Road. But we'll send it back to you in the studio as the rain starts to come down here on the east side of Madison.
All right, Tim, thank you for that live report. Tim Elliott at the reunification site. Our Lee Mills is joining us now. Lee, as this has lasted several hours, we have been reporting over the last several hours since the shooting came in at 11 this morning. 10:57 is when that shooting was first reported. And the good news is parents are starting to be reunited with their children, but so much still unfolding, so much tragedy we're still trying to wrap our head around.
So many questions that all of us are trying to grapple with, of course, law enforcement as well, schools. As you were on the air, we were working behind the scenes to learn more and having people reach out from across the country as they see this news unfold, because I think every teacher in every school, every parent can imagine the horror on some level. And so I just want to reiterate that as we all work to learn details and share them with you, that we are also just, our hearts are breaking with everyone because of this unimaginable tragedy. You hear these things happening across the country, but it really hits home when it happens here. My son's school district reached out shortly after this news broke to assure our families that everyone was safe, and I'm sure parents all over southern Wisconsin had districts reacting in that same way, because when you don't know what's happening, it's so easy to be in a panic. And so we are just working hard, but also wanting to be respectful of all of those who are right in the thick of a very difficult day.
And we know Madison schools were on lockdown at one point, but Police Chief Sean Barnes did say there's no threat to Madison schools right now. So let's head it on over to our Elizabeth Wattis, who is outside Abundant Life Christian School. Elizabeth, what are you seeing? Looks like some therapy dogs there.
Yes, a parade of therapy dogs. You see them right now. I see 4, one's coming up at the end, and these dogs seem to be going towards the church. These therapy dogs seem to be going towards the church. We will see them. Hi. Can you hear me? Okay, there are the therapy dogs walking through. You see the police officer lifting up the crime scene tape. I see 4 very good dogs in vests headed into the church. Now, this is where children are right now. The church is just about a football field away from Abundant Life Christian School. That is where they are keeping these kids. We saw them bringing in pizza, resources, and now these dogs are going in. And then from the church, we assume they will get on more of the city buses that are lined up. There are 2 more city buses lined up waiting for kids to board. We saw one bus go by already, head to the area where they're going to be reunited with their parents. I saw very tiny children, definitely elementary schoolers, being very brave on that bus, headed to their parents. So we are going to be out here again. We are waiting on those buses, more people to come in. We want those moments of reunification. That is the hope that we are looking for today. And as you can see, those dogs are, as we thought, going in that church right now to see those students, to be a comfort, to be resources, everything those students need to feel safe. That is what our first response. Of course, they hope that they will never happen, but of course, we've seen a lot unfold here today in Madison. We will keep you up to date, but for now, live in Madison, Elizabeth Wattis, WMTV 15 News.
All right, Elizabeth, thank you. That's good to see the students who are inside that church getting some comfort, as many of them have questions. Many of them don't know exactly what's going on, wondering when they can see their parents. And so those dogs providing maybe a little distraction during this scary time for them.
And you can imagine different ages of kids are going to process and understand this information differently. So that is really helpful. I was looking down, Gabriella, because we're getting an update from SSM Health St. Mary's Hospital. If you live in the area in Madison proper, you know there are 3 hospitals here in town. SSM St. Mary's confirming that it has received patients following the shooting. They are set up as a family assistance center, the location on Stoughton Road. So I want to be clear, not the hospital. They are not providing additional information about the patients they are working with, but they are saying, quote, "We are praying for all affected by today's tragic incident at Abundant Life Christian School and our community as a whole. We are grateful for the first responders who acted swiftly today." And you can imagine how important that is when you have 9 people injured and you're transporting these people, and seconds can be the difference between life and death. And knowing that those first responders were rushing in, seeing those who had suffered gunshot wounds and immediately starting to triage.
And we also know UW Health was accepting patients as well. So both hospitals in Madison working to treat those patients. We do have our Marcus Arsvold now joining us live from the scene. We're not sure exactly where Marcus is on scene. Marcus, can you share with us where you are in relation to the school?
Yeah, I am a couple yards down from the sanctuary, where we are now seeing children enter those city buses that we talked to you about earlier. So this is the first time I have seen any kids leaving the sanctuary. It looks like they are with a few adults, and it looks like they are getting on a bus right now as we speak. We are near City Church on Buckeye Road, and we are seeing children leave. There's one adult there. You can see them getting onto a bus now. I've been in this location for probably about 10 minutes, and this is the first time that I've seen children getting into vehicles here on this road. You can see a number of law enforcement officers still on scene, kind of blocking off as kids got out of the building and went onto a bus. My whole experience this time, I have been in the neighborhoods surrounding the school, talking to people who live nearby. A lot of people were just on a walk this morning when they said that they heard a countless number of sirens going around, more than they had ever heard before. Then there was a lot of confusion going on as police and as the sheriff's office started blocking off the school. Neighbors tell me nothing to this extent has ever happened to this school or in this neighborhood. They say it's been a very shocking and sad day as they have started to learn and realize about the shooter and what happened here. Now, we'll be continuing to talk with neighbors, getting reaction to them throughout our broadcast today, trying to just figure out as much as we can and trying to be here to make sure if people would like to share how they're feeling at this time, they're able to do so. Live in Madison, Marcus Arsvold, WMTV 15 News.
Marcus, thank you. And we saw those city buses. They're being used to transport students to that reunification site. So we did just get moments ago an update from Metro Busing saying that service may be impacted because of what's going on. So if you do take the bus, there may be a bit of a delay because they're using those buses to take those students to their parents.
Now, we know we are awaiting an update from Madison Police in about 20 minutes. In the meantime, we did hear from Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes this afternoon with an update on the situation as it unfolded. So we're going to play a little bit from that interview.
I want to thank all of the law enforcement partners and community members that came out to help. Our friends at the ATF. I've gotten calls from my friends at the FBI, the State Patrol, the Sheriff's Office, Winona Police Department, our fire department. It goes on and on and on. Because this is something that we all prepare for, but we hope we never have to do.
And you could hear the emotion in his voice when he said we all prepare for, because you never want to be in a real life situation like this. We know from seeing the video of all of the officers earlier, like the late morning hours, so many responding agencies. My husband was on the Beltline and reported 11, vehicles from all different jurisdictions, Shorewood Hills even, he saw one of their vehicles. So we know that it took a massive effort and a complete community response to deal with this incident earlier this morning. Right now, we're going to go back to our Elizabeth Wattis, who was just down the street from Marcus and was monitoring those buses and the students whom we believe were moved into that church across the parking lot. Elizabeth, what can you tell us?
That bus that Marcus was referencing just passed us about 10 seconds ago. We are assuming it is heading the half-mile away. That reunification center. Again, I was able to peek into that bus as it passed us. Again, really young children that we were seeing in there. So small that their heads didn't even make it past the seat. Again, we saw police officers in there with them and accompanied by some adults, some kids again on the laps of the adults, and just headed hopefully to their parents. Seeing the kids that small really puts into perspective what they went through today and how it is going to take a really, really long time to heal from everything that has unfolded today here in Madison. And our thoughts are just with these families and these children who are being so brave right now in a situation they should have never been in the first place. Again, we've seen a lot of resources come into that church behind me right there. That is just about a football field away from where the school is, Abundant Life Christian School. We have seen community members with water bottles coming in, police cars filled with pizza coming in, and you just saw that parade of therapy dogs in there as well, and also people in vests who you can tell help in these situations with the mental health aspects of this. Such a toll on these tiny, tiny humans that we are seeing hopefully go reunite with their parents. It was raining just a few moments ago. That has since stopped. And first responders, hopefully the rain has passed so they can really, be non-obstructed with the work that they have to do. A lot of work is still going on in that school. We know police are combing it inch by inch, still collecting evidence, trying to figure out what happened. That is the school you're looking at right now, the K through 12 Abundant Life Christian School. No students are in there. We know that. It is all officers, all hand on deck. We know K9 units are in there as well, just trying to preserve the crime scene, looking for evidence and processing all of it. And the other building, the church, that is where all the efforts are on the students, the faculty, the staff, who went through something most of us hopefully can't even imagine this morning. So we'll keep you updated here. I don't see any more. There is another city bus. It looks like right now. We're not going to get too close, but kids are loading it onto it right now. We do see that, and we will keep you posted. It just seems like that's good news. The more buses we can get, that means the more children are being reunified with their parents, and that's what we want to see right now. For now, live in Madison, Elizabeth Wattis, WMTV 15 News.
And we know all of the families, Elizabeth, want that as well, sitting on edge, waiting for their kids to be brought back to that reunification location, and the idea of reuniting with your parents will certainly bring some relief, although it doesn't make up for the families who won't be able to experience that because they were directly impacted by this tragedy.
And one thing we don't know right now is who those people are, the people that were impacted, the two people who were killed, the shooter who also died, and then the 6 other people who were injured. We heard from Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes that they are waiting to release that information until they can reach those families and notify them. But we are expecting to learn more from Chief Barnes in the next 15 minutes or so. Here's what he had to say earlier this afternoon about 12:20.
We're still going through methodically clearing that school, clearing every vehicle, and making certain that there's no other threats to this community, which we believe there are none.
So Chief Barnes there just reiterating that they are focusing on clearing that school right now because, Lee, many people, parents, especially you as a mom, the first thing you want to do is run into that building and hug your child. But unfortunately, the way that this is playing out is you have to wait until they are accounted for, until, they are able to count all of the class and rely on trusting that teacher that they're keeping your child safe as best they can and answering your child's questions as best they can. So, that's something that police are doing right now, clearing that school, as Elizabeth mentioned, preserving that what is now a crime scene and not a classroom or a school building.
And one that will take a long time to process and think of it as a classroom. Again, my stomach turns just thinking about those parents who are waiting, because it would be the most difficult thing to not be able to rush in and grab them and to wait. And I think there is a sense of peace when you hear from your students. So those who are potentially in middle school and certainly of high school ages would have cellular devices and ways to reach their parents, but those elementary kiddos, my kids don't have phones, and so I know that they're all on edge, and we're glad to see that those buses are making their way so they can be reunited with parents.
And we do want to turn it now to our Mark McPherson, who I believe is at that reunification site where parents are waiting. Mark, we heard earlier this morning from one parent who was briefly able to talk to her daughter on the phone, but have you been able to talk with any other parents who are on scene at that Dean Clinic reunification site?
No, we haven't come near any parents or kids so far, but if you look over my left shoulder, there are a couple of city buses, if you see them in the distance. They just pulled up. Those are the ones that Elizabeth was referencing just a few minutes ago. They just pulled into the parking lot of SSM Health here. We haven't seen any parents get on the bus or kids get off the bus, but we do believe the Reunification Center is somewhere just on the other side, either in SSM Health or in that blue building as well. We also just had a food delivery person come by because they brought sandwiches buses into that area. So they're getting food to either the parents, kids, or even the emergency workers that are there. Again, we haven't seen any students get off those buses, but when they drove past us, we did see some students on those buses. So that's where they're coming in right now. I just pulled into the area a few minutes ago. The streets are closed off. We're on Buckeye Road right now. It's closed off at Stoughton. They're diverting traffic back onto Stoughton Road, and they're closed off in the other direction as well. So we're going to try to see where this reunification area is, maybe try to talk to some parents as well. But for now, we'll send it back to you.
All right, Mark, thank you. And again, he is outside that reunification site. So if you're watching this right now, maybe you don't have a connection to Abundant Life Christian School saying, what can I do to help? I think that's something that many of us feel. One thing you can do is just to stay away from that area because they are trying to get those buses as quickly as possible with those students to the reunification site. So if at all possible, avoid East Buckeye Road today. Let the officers on scene direct that traffic to where it needs to go. I know it can be, I want to help, I want to bring something, but the students are in good hands right now. And so that's one of the best things that you can do, as well as pray. That's something that the school was asking for.
Yeah, we saw that in the message, and it's a Christian school, and it makes sense that they would be asking for those, the support of the community also through prayer. And so if you identify with that and would like to put that out there, there are so many 200 families who would appreciate it. Our Tabitha Bland is also out on the east side for us. We're working to get our afternoon crews into the mix to help out our morning crews who have been here working on this story since it broke at 10:57 a.m. Tabitha, looks like maybe you're at a fire department. Let us know where you are and what you're seeing there.
Yeah, we're at Fire Station 14 right now. We're waiting for the new 2:30 press conference brief. As you can see, I mean, it is absolutely packed in there. There's a lot of people that are eager to find out more information, including our team, and we will keep you updated on what we know as it continues. The last update that we do have from MPD is that 3 are dead in the Madison Abundant Life Christian School shooting this morning. We will keep you updated with what we find out. We are working to find out the responding agencies and just some updates on the injuries that have taken place. So we will be in this press conference here. I believe that some people from MPD, Chief Barnes, will be letting us know that information. But until then, we will be standing by here, getting the information for you, and we're going to send it back to the studio.
Tabitha, thank you. And we are planning to take that press conference live. So if you are with us and would like to hear in its entirety what Chief Barnes and potentially any others would share, we know ATF is there. They're trying to figure out where did the gun that was used come from. There could potentially be an update there. And we're hopeful that there will be an update on some of those who were transported with injuries.
And we saw Tabitha show us briefly just the amount of media gathered. You know, there are going to be crews from national outlets that will be in our own backyard today covering this story. On Sunday, December 22nd.
So many doing what they can, and that, of course, a mark of respect for the victims. Our Marcus Arsvold is on the east side as well. He is over near the school and church. We're going to check back in with you, Marcus.
I'm still on East Buckeye Road, and I'm talking to neighbors here about what it was like during the moments that no one knew what was going on. I spoke with one neighbor off camera who lent me his phone to show me what it sounded like when the sirens were going off. So I'm going to play that for you right now. And you can just hear it in this usually quiet neighborhood, the sound of something that was really alarming for everyone. So everyone here knew that something was happening, they just didn't know what. And talking to neighbors here, they said listening to what it's like to be so silent now is an eerie feeling for this neighborhood as we still try to put together what exactly happened here. I've talked to other neighbors who say nothing like this has ever happened before in this area. They say that it's been an extremely shocking morning and that this is something that they've often seen happen elsewhere on TV shows, movies, or on national news, but nothing that they've ever had in their backyard. For now in Madison, Marcus Arsvold, WMTV 15 News.
Marcus, thank you. We are getting feedback from many people across our community, and I do want to share a statement from Ben Wickler, the chair of WIS Dems, and I don't want to make this a political conversation, but we do know that the issue of gun control has been something that has been discussed for decades, going back to the Columbine school shooting and thinking about Sandy Hook and all of those that I've been a part of covering in my years working as a journalist. And there's one thing that he wrote in his statement: we need gun violence prevention policies that live up to our values. And so I think that will be another not immediate discussion, but one that we see in the coming days as we learn more from ATF about this specific gun. We had a story about ghost guns recently that aired in our 10 o'clock newscast. It was an investigative piece, so certainly something that we, and I'm not trying to infer that that is what this was because we don't know anything about the weapon used, but we do know that this is a conversation that that has been ongoing for a couple of decades and certainly comes to the forefront whenever we see gun violence that results in someone's death.
And we had heard from Chief Barnes that the shooter in this shooting was a student. And so we do know that there are going to be questions on how did that student bring the gun into the school, what safety parameters are in place at the school, what could possibly change in the weeks, months to come in Wisconsin schools as part of this. This is a private school. They still have to follow state standards. So those are going to be questions that come out in the coming days. But we do know that Madison police and our law enforcement, they train for this constantly. I've done so many stories on different types of active shooter situations that they train for. And so those officers today using that training that they never thought they would have to use. Chief Barnes also saying earlier this morning, no police fired their weapon. So that was something that won't be part of the investigation now that we know that. So we're expecting to learn more information in the next 5 minutes from Madison police. We're also being told that Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway will be at this news conference, as well as the new Dane County Executive Melissa Agard.
That's right. So we have the entire community and kind of all levels of government who will be there as part of this press conference, which again we're expecting at 2:30. The previous one did happen a little late, so we do want to let you know that we're not missing it if we don't go to it right at 2:30, but we will, once it is underway, take that live and bring that to you. Another thing I heard Chief Barnes talk about during his earlier remarks was just that there were EMS people training just down the road as this incident transpired. And I think the police department went through something just a few weeks ago. So he was discussing how they continuously prepare for and train and update their techniques to make sure that they're learning from other agencies and past experiences to have the best possible response if and when something happens here.
And it's not just police, you know, we also know paramedics are involved. Hospitals train for this too, to be able to take in several gunshot patients at one time. And so that's something that those nurses and those doctors are working just as hard to treat those patients. We know both SSM Health and UW Health have been taking in those patients. 6 people were injured. We know from Chief Barnes earlier today, minor to life-threatening. So it's possible we could get an update on the conditions of those patients in the next few minutes or so, or we may have to just wait in the coming hours for the latest. So, you know, it's something that all of these people train for because it is a reality that we live in.
And I think if you are watching and not understanding or are frustrated as to why we don't have this new information, the way that this works is they reach out to families first, and I hope that everyone can understand that you would never want someone to learn that a loved one was involved in something through our broadcast or social media. You want to be able to process that and make sure that it's handled in a way that is as appropriate as possible given the circumstances. And so once every family member of one of those victims, whether it's a casualty, an injury, or a death, is notified, then we do feel very confident that we will right away receive more information and be able to share that with you.
Now, we did just get a statement from Madison School Superintendent Dr. Joe Gothard. We know at one point that Madison schools were on lockdown, so I'm just going to read to you from my phone briefly this long statement from MMSD Superintendent Gothard. Our hearts are heavy with profound sorrow as we stand in solidarity with our friends and neighbors at Abundant Life Christian School during this extraordinarily difficult time. We are saddened by the lives lost, injuries sustained, and the emotional and physical trauma experienced during today's incident. He goes on to extend his sympathies, and then he goes on to further give us information on that lockdown. So looks like he says 9 of the schools were placed into a secure lockdown. That's part of their safety protocols. During that time, no one was allowed to enter or leave the building, and it was lifted at 1:15. So that's the latest from Madison School Superintendent. Abundant Life Christian School, not part of the Madison School District.
Correct, and still the ripple effects of having students there, and you can imagine even students who were placed on a secure hold and learning why they're going to have to process that as well, because this impacts everyone differently and of course has a wide-reaching breadth outside of the specific 200 families affected at Abundant Life Christian School. The superintendent did go on to say that for those of you who are parents in the Madison district, MMSD will continue to have classes as scheduled, so that's something just to be aware of. But I know their district, my kids' district, I would guess multiple around this area, are offering comprehensive resources. So if your student comes home and is upset, just know that there are staff. I mean, your husband acts as one of those in his district. There are staff at school who are trained in how to help students process what they may be feeling.
Yeah, my husband's a high school counselor in Janesville, and he works with all of the Madison area schools. They meet and they discuss best practices for something like this to happen. How can we support our students? Because I think that's something you have to know about educators is they put those students first. And in situations like this, they are the ones that are going to answer your students' questions if you're not able to be with them right now. So parents that are watching, those teachers, they've trained for this. They're working very hard while they might be just as scared. And so they're doing, what they can. And so that's where we have to trust in our educators and all those special people that work in schools. Looks like we are taking a live look. It has not started just yet, but this is a live look at that press conference, which should get underway momentarily. We're expecting it to be a few minutes delayed just because of the magnitude of this, Lee.
And they're waiting for probably other people to filter in there, as they know, as Gabriella mentioned, national news outlets. I was tuning in to see CNN was covering this extensively during the hour that it first happened. We do know that Chief Barnes from MPD, we know Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway. I can see there the PIO for Madison Police standing up in the green. We know that Melissa Agard, our new Dane County executive, so multiple stakeholders are going to be in that room addressing the media.
And our crews are in that room, so we will be asking the questions of what happened and who is hurt. Those are questions that we want to know as well, so we will be doing our best to bring you the information. Since this has transpired since 10:57 this morning, we have learned so much information. There's so much to uncover, but there's so much more to still learn and figure out here. And so that's what, we're expecting to learn here very shortly.
And I think outside of what we can learn from officials who are there processing the scene, working on the motive of what transpired, if you are a parent of a student at Abundant Life Christian School, or you know someone, and at any point, it doesn't have to be today, if you have something you would like to share with us about the school community, the culture, those impacted, we certainly would would be interested in hearing that and sharing that with our viewers, because those are questions on all of our minds and hearts. But we also want to give those who are impacted the space to process what has happened today. And so just know that if you're in that group and at some point you feel compelled, you know how to reach us, and we would love to talk with you.
Yeah, we want to look for the helpers here today too, as we cover such a tragic situation. We know there are so many people working hard to help those who have been affected. And we just want to reiterate once more the reunification site for families. If you are a parent or you know someone who is a parent who might be at work and they're not able to go to that reunification site right now, that address is 1821 South Stoughton Road. It's the Dean Clinic. It's about a half mile from Abundant Life Christian School. So that's where they're asking parents to go to be reunified with their students. It's going to take some time. We believe they're starting with the elementary school students, working their way up to middle school and high school students, as this is a K through 12 school. So that's the address that you need to know. If you are not a parent or a guardian, this is the address you need to avoid today.
That whole area, I mean, really, if you could just avoid East Buckeye Road, Stoughton Road, unless you really have a reason to go there, so that first responders, crews processing the scene, and families all can have the ability to connect as soon as possible. If you are just joining us and you know this press conference is about to start, there were some conflicting numbers. Madison police started with some data, adjusted it during the first press conference, then made a correction later. So I just want to reiterate that right now we know 9 victims in total, 3 people dead. That does include the suspect, whom we believe was a student at the school. That leaves 6 people injured. Chief Barnes 2 hours ago said that those injuries ranged from minor to life-threatening, so it's possible that we will get an update, and my hope would be that all 6 of them have been treated and are stable. But at this point, we just know that there's a wide range, but 9 total, and 3 people, including the suspect, dead.
And we do not know if they are students or staff.
Correct.
That's something that we hopefully will get answered here soon, because that is something that we have been trying to learn over the last few hours. And so this all started at 10:57 this morning. Just to update you from what Chief Barnes said earlier this morning, officers responded just before 11 this morning, finding multiple people who were shot. They also found the person, the shooter, who they say is a student, dead on the scene. So police did not fire their weapons in this incident, according to Chief Barnes. We know that officers, once they arrived to that scene, they began life-saving efforts, doing what they can, what they've trained to do. And so that's really the limited details, what we know, what led up to this shooting, what has happened. And so that's what we know right now.
And our Mark McPherson is over at the scene right now near East Buckeye Road, the school. Mark, let's go back to you for an update on what you're seeing there.
Yeah, another bus just showed up just a few minutes ago. It's the 4th one since I've been here. I'm going to step out of the way and show you. They get a police escort down here. It is one of those extended large city buses, and it does have students in it. The previous 3 went back around the other side of SSM Health, which is where the reunification area is. As you mentioned, they're starting with the younger children and working their way up. But like I said, they all have a police escort, and it's the 4th one to get here so far. There is still a large police presence in the area. No one's allowed in or out of either this area or the parking lot while this reunification process is going on. It has to be excruciating for some of these parents. As you know, it's their parents' worst nightmare, something like this going on. And I know that police are trying to reunify families as quickly as they can, and I'm sure that's why they brought in such large buses. We haven't seen any of the parents coming in and out or students coming in and out at the moment. But again, another bus has just shown up here on scene. I know that we are going to go to the press conference as soon as the chief steps in front, so I'm going to send it back to you so that we're ready when the chief is ready.
Okay, Mark, thank you. Yes, we're waiting for the Madison fire chief to get to the location of that press conference, which is at one of the fire stations, Fire Station 14. In the interim, our chief political correspondent here, Vanessa Kelson, has been doing some research for us, and I just wanted to share this in the spirit of the conversation about guns and gun legislation and what, if anything, should be done. You know what, I'll share that with you in a minute, because we want to go to Chief Barnes, who just stepped up to the podium here at Madison Fire Station 14.
is the part where, again, I would normally start by saying good afternoon and thanking you for being here, but under these circumstances, I'll just give you a minute to start your live streams or do whatever you need to do. And while you're doing that, my name is Chief Sean Barnes, SHONBARNES. I'm currently the Chief of Police for the Madison Police Department. I'll be providing a brief update of the school shooting that we had today in Madison. There is some information that we're not going to release because it's still an ever-evolving situation. You'll hear from some of our representatives from our city and from our county. And behind me are a lot of people who came together today to make sure that the day ended well and that everyone else was safe. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and start my remarks. Today truly is a sad day for Madison and for our country. It is a day that I believe will live in our collective minds for a very, very long time. Here are the details. Today at 10:57 a.m., our team was called to the Abundant Life Christian School in reference to an active shooter. We know that 3 people are dead, including the suspect shooter. We know that the suspect shooter was a teenage student who attended the school. At this time, we're not releasing the age or gender of the student or any other identifying remarks about the student. 2 other people have died. That died were a teacher and a teenage student. 6 other people were injured. 2 students are now in critical condition in the hospital, and these injuries are considered life-threatening injuries. 4 students are also at other area hospitals with non-life-threatening injuries. But these are just the physical injuries that we know about. We know that this was the middle of the day, of a school day, and so there will be other injuries that we'll have to face for a very, very long time. And we're going to do everything we can as a community to heal those injuries as well. Many of you have asked me about the why of this. Why did this happen? What do we know? What was the motivation? I do not know. But I will tell you this, our detectives are working hard in the investigative process to find out as many answers as we can so that we can further prevent these things from happening, not only in this community, but in other communities around our country. I think we can all agree that enough is enough, and we have to come together to do everything we can to support our students, to prevent press conferences like these from happening again and again and again. The school building itself is clear. We have cleared the school. There's no other threats or danger to the community. We're in the process now of what we call reunification. And what that simply means is making sure that every student that was in the school is present and accounted for and returned to their loved ones. This usually takes a while, but we have practiced, unfortunately, and practice, and that's why we're able to reunify students with their parents within hours of a school shooting. The reunification is taking place at the Dean Clinic on Stoughton Road, and I certainly thank them for their help. Again, we need our public to find an alternate route. If that is your normal way home as we get closer to the end of the day, please be patient or find another route home. We're currently processing the scene. We're interviewing those who may have been witnesses, and we're obtaining search warrants to get additional information. And lastly, I want to just say thank you to everyone who's standing behind me, the organizations and agencies that they represent, the men and women of the Madison Police Department and Dane County Sheriff's Office who selflessly ran into a building not knowing what they were going to encounter. Many of you know this about me, but I started my professional career, if you will, as a public school teacher back in 1997. And I taught public school for 4 years. It was one of the greatest joys of my life before becoming a police officer. And I can tell you what a special place our schools are. With that being said, we owe it to our community to do everything possible to ensure that it's not only a special place, but a safe place as well. And we're going to continue to do that. So we ask for your patience as information is coming in. We will do the best that we can to bring you accurate and timely information, but we want to make sure that our public knows that we're working extremely hard on this particular incident. There are a lot of people involved, and certainly we're going to come together as a community. I'd like to bring up at this time Police Fire Chief Chris Carver.
Thank you, Chief Barnes. Before I start, the only thing I can say is this is not a place that any fire chief or any one of us would ever want to be. And I can't believe I'm standing here today talking about this incident. The fire department is a part of this community, much like all the folks standing up here with me today. Our hearts are with and our arms are around everybody impacted today and everybody within our community. With that, I won't repeat the details shared by Chief Barnes, but I will share with you the fire department activity for today. Much like Chief Barnes mentioned, at 10:57, we were also dispatched with Engine 5 and Medic 5 to the same location. Throughout the course of the incident, we responded with 5 engine companies, 4 ladder companies, 15 ambulances. I would like to take a moment and share our gratitude for our county partners throughout a multitude of EMS and fire agencies that joined us in the response today. We also had 11 off-duty chief officers that came in on this response. So it was a tremendous response from the fire department. We transported 4 patients to St. Mary's. We transported 3 patients to the University of Wisconsin hospitals. On the arrival of our crews, I can say my gratitude to our membership for what they did and their selfless actions today. It's hard for me to place into words what they ran into as well. They did that immediately, they did that selflessly, and within a course of 15 minutes from the first transport to the last transport, all the patients were on their way to the hospital. So to our membership within the Madison Fire Department and within all the emergency services, my gratitude, my recognition of the work that goes into this, the training that went into this, that again, we had hoped we would never have to put into practice. One more time on behalf of the Madison Fire Department, our hearts are with you, our arms are around you, and we will be with you throughout the duration of this. So at this point, I'll step aside, turn it over to the mayor.
Thank you, Chiefs, both of you. This is an incredibly sad day for our community. As you've heard, there is no danger to the community at this time, but our entire community has been impacted by this tragic incident. On behalf of the Common Council and the City of Madison staff, I want to offer our heartfelt condolences to the victims and families and to the whole Abundant Life community. Our focus now is on supporting them and supporting the victims and their families. And we will continue to do that through the coming days and weeks. I also want to thank our first responders, and the police, fire, the medical staff for their quick action and their life-saving efforts. As you've heard already, this is a whole of government response. It is not just police and fire. It is not just City of Madison. We have folks from all around the county. We have folks from multiple agencies engaged in both the initial immediate response and the ongoing support, and will be engaged for days and weeks to come. I also want to thank the White House and the governor and others in the federal government and state government for reaching out to offer their support and help. And we will be drawing on resources as needed going forward. But the most important thing right now is to make sure that we are centering the victims and their families, and that we are doing whatever we can to support them and to help them heal, and to lift our entire community up through this difficult incident. I am on record that I think we need to do better in our country and our community. to prevent gun violence. And I hoped that this day would never come in Madison. It is not something that any mayor, any fire chief, any police chief, any person in public office ever wants to have to deal with. And so I will ask our entire community and our entire country to do whatever we can to make sure that no public official ever has to stand in this position again. And now I'll invite the county executive to the podium.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, our community is reeling from the heartbreaking and senseless tragedies at Abundant Life Christian School in Madison. As a mom who received a text from her son at a high school here in the city of Madison wondering if he was safe, I can tell you, this hits you in the gut. Our community is better than this. Our country is better than this. Cannot continue. My heart goes out to the victims and their families and the students and the educators, and the list goes on and on. Every one of us is affected by this unimaginable and unacceptable violence that has hit our community today. Dane County stands united in grief with the Abundant Life Christian School community. The Sheriff's Department, the Department of Emergency Management, Department of Human Services have all been on the front lines. My phone has been ringing from people across our state and our nation asking what it is that they can do to help our community. And right now, it is our time to be committed to supporting this school, these students, and these families, and our first responders who went into that building during this devastating time. We must work closely with our law enforcement officers and first responders, mental health professionals, community leaders, and policymakers to ensure that we are taking care of one another. No community should ever have to endure such a tragedy. And my administration is going to do everything that it can to provide assistance to those who have experienced this devastating loss, and also do everything that we can to prevent such tragedy from occurring. To all of those who are grieving in our community, please know that you're not alone. Dane County stands with you. We're here to support you in any way possible. Please reach out and ask for help. The governor's office, as well as the mayor's office, and I will continue to update the public as we learn more. But please understand, there are many things that we cannot share with you right now. This is an active investigation. This is an active case. The SSM Health Clinic near the intersection of Buckeye Road and Stoughton Road is the Reunification Center. I know that that has been out, but we need to make sure that folks know where it is that they can go to be reunited with their children. Again, in the coming days, we are going to make sure that we are supporting those that have been most impacted by this. But folks, reach out, ask for help. This does not need to be the reality of our community. Thank you.
All right, we'll start over here with questions. Just raise your hands.
Tell us, how did this unfold? Can you give us a bit of a timeline, how your office got into the building?
Sure. We received the call at approximately 10:57 a.m. Someone from the school called 911 to report that there was an active shooter. That means something different to us, obviously. There's different protocols that go out, tone alerts even, so that even if officers are busy doing other things, they respond. One of the things that I do want to note is that our training center is about 3 miles from there. We have special event team medics, those that work with the fire department, responded to this particular scene from their training day. So what began as a training day became an actual day. And so that's how this call originally came in.
Nicholas, did you have a question?
What can you tell us, if anything, more about the shooter and what their motivations were, or have you made contact with their family members? Anything updated on that?
Sure, there's nothing new that I can tell you about the shooter at this time. Again, as difficult as today is, that's still someone's child that's gone. That's still someone that has to deal with what happened today. And so we want to make sure that we can ensure as much cooperation as we can. You asked me about why, as I stated before. I don't know why. And I felt like if we did know why, we could stop these things from happening. But what I will tell you is, as soon as we are done with the investigation, any information that we uncover that will not compromise the safety of anyone involved or compromise the confidentiality of any of these children that are involved, we'll tell you. I just ask for your patience.
All right, over there. Sorry, go right ahead.
Chief, what kind of gun was used today?
We know it was a handgun. We know a handgun was recovered.
All right, sit down right there.
Was the shooting confined to one classroom or did it spread out?
We know it was confined to one space. I do not know if it was a classroom or a hallway. One of the things that we've gotten very good at, certainly different from in my day, is that if you do not need to be in a crime scene, you do not need to go to a crime scene. And so the crime scene and those persons who were involved, they have that crime scene locked down. I did not go or enter into that crime scene. But if you can imagine, most schools, the students go together, but they are segregated. So on each different floor and each different group. And so there's no evidence that anyone else was injured that was not in the age group.
Danielle?
What can you say at this time about how school staff responded when the shooting started?
I cannot speak to how the school staff responded. You know, we did have injuries, but it could have always, of course, had additional injuries. I do not know what the school's protocols are. Again, this is a private Christian school. I know that we have a very good rapport with MMSD, Madison Metropolitan Schools, public schools. So we have done trainings for them before, but I would assume that most of the teachers have the same or some similar type of training as a part of their certification.
There's conflicting reports online about how many students are enrolled at the school. Can you confirm approximately how many students attend the school?
I do not know how many students attend the school, but their website says that they serve about 200 families.
Right in the back, white.
What kind of support systems are going to be made available to people who are affected by this?
That's a good question. As you heard from our mayor and our county exec, we have services within our government that will be made available to them. I have a lot of confidence that they're going to follow through on that, and we'll make sure that that persons who need to. Do you guys want to speak to that?
So, Dane County Human Services, as well as the Red Cross and other consolidated agencies, are already on scene. And we will continue to be on scene, and those resources will be bolstered. Again, please reach out. You are not alone. We are going to navigate this together, and there are people who are affected by this trauma who are not in the Reunification Center or at the school. We need folks to be reaching out because we do have resources available.
Did you know if Abundant Christian Life School, did they have a school resource officer employed?
It's not my knowledge that they had a school resource officer. That if they did, it would be a police officer, and I know where they all are, and they're not in the schools right now.
15 in the back there.
So in terms of witnesses that you mentioned about investigation, what is that looking like, and how many
Sure.
witnesses are you guys keeping up?
Sure. So the detectives will talk to anyone who may have seen this particular event unfold, anyone that may have been unfortunate to hear something. They will be talking to them. It's my understanding that that's in process now, and everyone is cooperating fully. That will give us an idea of not only what unfolded, but it could answer the question to motivation, because again, the students who unfortunately had to witness this. But that's not something that we want to rush. We're not going to interrogate students. We're going to give them an opportunity to come in and speak to what they may have saw when they feel ready, which is why some of these questions can't be answered right now.
All right, Spectrum Room.
How do you reassure the community that it's still okay to go back to school? I mean, everybody's got kids, and I think, maybe it happened at this school, but there's everybody that's got a kid anywhere like this in Dane County. It's going to be hard.
Yeah, I think you're asking me, how can I say 100% that no child will ever be harmed in school? I can't. No police chief can. But all I can tell you is that we have systems in place so that if something happens, we can respond like we did today. I can tell you that our mayor and our county exec has committed resources to not only public health, but also mental health. I can tell you that every teacher that I've ever had contact with at MMSD cares deeply about their students. Every staff member, I talk to staff members all the time, who tell me things that are going on in the schools and want to do whatever they can, even if it's under anonymity, to let me know that they want to have a safe school. So my reassurance to the public is that if you see something, say something. If you know someone who may be going through a difficult time, please reach out to someone. And I think what I can do is make sure that our police department is transparent and open and honest and inviting for people to call and give information. I think MMSD does an excellent job of that. And the same thing can be said for any other private school. If you want to give information or you need someone to talk to, I can promise you we'll have someone there to get that information.
Chief, understanding that this is a private school you may not be as familiar with, what can you tell us about some of the physical measures that are in place in this school, whether it's metal detectors, secure entryway, cameras, et cetera?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've never been in this school, unfortunately. I'm not aware that there were metal detectors in the school. That's something that we can certainly look at. Most schools have some form of surveillance or public space cameras, but that will be, of course, part of the investigation process.
Scott?
Chief, can you clarify? You said 7 were injured, but 6 were hospitalized. Does that mean one's been treated or released? And secondly, is the shooter's family cooperating with the investigation?
Yeah, so it's 2 questions, but let me try to handle the first one. So I'm trying to go back to my notes. So we do know that 1 person was pronounced at the scene. And so that may be the 7th person, but we can get you all that information just when we're done. I'll have my PIO give that to you so you can report it accurately. And what was your second question?
Is the shooter's family cooperating?
At this time, yes.
Right there.
So you have made contact with the shooter's family?
We have.
And what were the steps taken to do that?
It's through the investigative process, okay?
Laura?
Yeah.
Is the shooter's home being searched? We've heard some information about that is ongoing.
Yes, obviously, once we have identified, we have initiated a search, but we think that search is either ongoing now or that search may be concluded. Of course, it's about safety. That's the first thing, making sure that people are safe, and then we'll go from there. This has been, this has been an amazing day for everyone. And so if you have someone who is deceased, who may have been a shooter, you want to make sure that their family is okay. You don't know. And so that is what we're doing right now. It is about the safety of everyone. This is going to be a long day for the Madison Police Department. We just want some of your patience.
Are you aware, had the school had any prior threats? And then just, jumping off of that, do you know if the shooter had any prior contact with law enforcement?
We do not know that the shooter had any prior contact with law enforcement, but I did do a check of the school. There were some calls, but they were like 911 hang-ups, things of that nature. There was nothing that suggested that the school was a place that violence would occur.
Chief, I know that you mentioned that the shooter died of a self-inflicted gun wound. Did that happen before officers arrived at the school or when the shooter saw officers coming into the school?
Yeah, so let me say that the cause and manner in which the shooter died will be determined by the inmate. But what I can tell you is the shooter was dead upon our arrival, police department arrival, and no officers fired their weapons. Okay?
Lucas?
What are these search warrants you're executing, or are they at the residence on like the device the shooter had?
I'm sorry.
The extent of the search warrant.
Yeah, so the extent of the search warrant is to be able to go in a place that we don't have permission to be in and make sure that everyone is okay. And then if there's any evidence that we think we need to collect, we could only do that with the use of a search warrant. And so again, we have to determine if there is evidence that we will need. Everyone wants to know what led up to this. Are there any additional threats to public safety? Is this person or was this person by themselves? There are a lot of questions that we want to answer, but we have to answer the safety questions first, and then we'll move on to some of the more investigatory questions.
Are you in possession of any of the shooter's devices?
I am not, no.
Catherine?
I'm wondering about metal detectors. You mentioned in the first meeting that you were not a fan, and that this school probably doesn't have them. And do you know other schools that do? Do you think that that's something we should start talking about, metal detectors in schools?
I guess the question is, would you want your child to go to a school with or without metal detectors?
I can't answer that.
I can't.
Right now in a school
Yeah,
without them.
yeah, absolutely. So the idea is to create the safest environment that we can without metal detectors. That is my answer.
Chief, this was a shooting at a Christian school right before the Christmas holiday. Can you address the impact of that? And is the Christmas holiday at all, in your belief, related to as a motivation for the shooting?
Yeah, so to the question of motivation, we don't know why, but to the question of so close to Christmas, we have a lot of people going to be impacted. If it's a Christian school, then obviously our holidays, our Christian holidays are very important to the students, very important. It's a time for family. Students probably getting ready to go out on break, and now the break will be a little less about celebrating Christmas than more about celebrating perhaps friends and loved ones and staff members who perhaps lost their life. That's why I'm asking everyone to, of course, keep Abundant Life Christian School in your thoughts and in your prayers, and we'll get a couple more, okay?
Okay, real quick, Phoebe.
So it's a private school that takes public money through the voucher system. So what has this revealed about maybe gaps in security or training for staff? Is that something you're thinking about whether schools that are private but take public money need to be, kind of on par with public schools when it comes to safety?
Well, what I'm telling you is that in 1997, I began my professional career as a public school teacher. I taught history for 4 years before becoming a police officer. So I did not get far enough to take courses in administration and budgeting of schools. I don't know what governs private schools, if they receive money, where that comes from. That would probably be a question that you would probably need to ask someone who's more intimately involved in the school system and what their requirements are if they do receive that. But you could probably compare what has happened or what goes on, their security measures, with the security measures of any school in MMSD, and then that will may give you your answer. That's a very...
Just one very quick follow-up. As you know, there has been some criticism to other law departments in their response to these school shooting incidents, particularly in Uvalde. How did that inform your game plan today, and how quickly were your officers able to get into the school? What were they told to do?
Sure. We train on this, as I spoke about earlier. When officers arrive on the scene, they immediately go in, which we did in this case, stop the threat, stop the killing, find the killer. That's how we train. And that's exactly what we did today. There's no waiting. There's no coordination of who's in charge. Everyone knows exactly what to do. I spoke about this earlier. We train on this constantly. Our commanders, including the fire chief and I, was in a commander's training less than 2 weeks ago, going over this exact same scenario for another fictional location. And so all of that came into play today, and our officers performed extremely well based on their training and based on the expectations that they know exactly what to do. Stop the threat, stop the killing, find the threat.
Right. For the follow-up, can we just do one more? For the current student? Hold on, right here.
Thank you,
Hello.
all.
Yeah.
I think the questions have been asked, and we're straying a little far from what's most important at this point in time, and that is the victims and their families. I have 3 things to add. First of all, there is a lot that our community can and will do in the coming days to support the victims and their families, and we will have more information at future briefings. If anyone, and I would urge you all to include this in your stories, if anyone needs mental health support as a result of this incident and the coverage of it, I encourage them to reach out to 988 by phone or text and to get the mental health support that they need. It is incredibly important that we take care of our community in this very difficult time. We all have a role in preventing gun violence. Our entire community needs to be part of the solution here. There are many things that we can do, and we can have those conversations in coming days. But first and foremost, what needs to be the priority for all of us is supporting our young people. And that is where our community's attention needs to turn at this point in time. The police department, the fire department, the city, the county will share additional information about the investigation as it becomes available. But I urge you all to help our community find resources to support their mental health and to find resources to support the victims and families at this time. Thank you all.
People go to see your updates. What can we tell them?
It'll be at cityofmadison.com. Me and Stephanie and Cynthia will stick around and answer any other questions, folks. That's all.
Let me say just before I go, because the mayor mentioned that this was a whole of government response. It certainly was, and there's so many people that we want to thank. We cannot thank everyone, but it's also a whole of law enforcement response. Even though we are in different agencies, we all have the same training. And so I want to thank our partners with the FBI who are here with me today, partners with the ATF, Dane County Emergency Management. Of course, we already talked about our fire department. We've got calls from the Attorney General of the United States, Wisconsin State Patrol, our governor's office, State Patrol, Monona, as well as our sheriff's office. I know I may have left someone out, but thank you for how you responded professionally, quickly, and according to the way that we all train, and it all came together to ensure that no other persons were hurt. Thank you.
Chief, can you just say what time you guys made entry? We just want to nail that detail down.
10:57.
But that's the time we made
They
entry.
start in 1 minute?
We'll work on getting that, so our next,
How long does it take they arrive to the scene if we raise back they receive the call at 10:57?
yeah, so I will work on getting that information for our next media briefing. We plan to meet here at 5:30 tonight, and I will work on getting that information.
Do you know how many search warrants were executed?
I don't have that information. I can see if detectives are able to share that number later.
Okay, and also have they checked his social media at all?
That is something.
Are seeing the press conference there wrap up. You heard staff with MPD saying the next briefing is at 5:30. We did learn a number of things in this press conference. So just to point out a couple of really important notes. We know someone at the school inside the building called 911. That was that 10:57 call in. We also know that the suspect is a teen. We didn't learn any other identifying factors, but that teen used a handgun. We do know that about the weapon, and there was a little explanation which was maybe hard to follow about the location in the school. I believe, Gabriella, correct me if you understood this differently, that the chief was explaining that it was in a specific area with a certain age group, because while it's K through 12, they're in different areas of the building. And so this high school student went in with a handgun to an area with other teens. We're not able to break it down outside of teens, but know that that was the age group that was involved.
Chief Barnes called it a confined space, and he also shared with us, we are just learning one teacher died and a teenage student also died. The teenage student suspect dead as well. So a teacher and a teenage student are dead, and 2 students are fighting for their life right now. They have life-threatening injuries and they're being treated at UW Health. 4 other students have non-life-threatening injuries. So in total, 6 students were injured in that confined space where this shooting happened. Again, we don't know where in the school that this happened, but 1 teacher and a teenage student were killed by another student.
And in terms of those other 2 who are fighting for their lives, we know that 2 were transported to UW Hospital. That is a level 1 trauma hospital. So it's likely that those 2 are there, and the other 4 are being treated at St. Mary's, the other hospital we know has been involved today. And so our hearts go out to all of those, the families of all of those involved. We know that right now detectives are talking with witnesses who were there, and also others who may have heard or seen something before today, who might be able to shed light on what happened. You heard him talk about search warrants, so likely trying to search at the teen suspect's home and other areas just to gain more information, because obviously they can't have a conversation with that person anymore, but others in that teen suspect's life who may be able to shed light. And you heard the mayor mention 988. That is the mental health hotline. So aside from resources your students could have at school, or if it's after school hours, 988 is a great resource to use.
I think one question that many of us have is why? Why did this happen? And Chief Sean Barnes said that he does not know. And that's something that he emphasized that his detectives are working to figure out, is what exactly happened? What was the motivation here? Could something have been done to prevent this tragedy from taking place? So he says that as they speak to those other students who were in that space where the shooting happened at Abundant Life Christian School, that the detectives do not want to rush this process, want to be mindful of what those students witnessed and get as much information as they can from those other students. And the mayor echoing Chief Barnes' sentiments, Satya Rhodes Conway, saying that there is not a mayor in this country that ever wants to be dealing with something like this. And here we are facing this as a community.
And I know a lot of people on both sides of the aisle politically are reaching out, providing statements, a lot of opinions about what can be done next to address this specific issue of gun violence. We also know already Dane County Human Services and the Red Cross were already on the scene, so they are giving help to those families who are involved and the 200 families who are members of this church and school community and directly impacted today. You heard things like enough is enough. Chief Barnes said we need to better support students. So I think that'll be another topic of conversation. And you may have caught in there, he was saying if you see something, say something. And there is a state program called SUSO, or Speak Up, Speak Out. And you can look it up. There's a text number. I'm not going to just say it because you may not be able to write it down. But if you search SUSO or Speak Up, Speak Out, there's a Wisconsin program where you can send in a tip, make a phone call, text. It can be anonymous, and it's just so that authorities can investigate any and all concerns. This is not to place blame on anyone who didn't reach out. It's more, how can we as a community, as individuals, process and think, you know, what can I do in the future? And so that's another good resource for everyone in the community to be aware of.
Now, Chief Barnes also shared an update on what's happening at the school right now, saying the school building is clear. There is no threat at the school anymore. And so what officers are doing right now is working to account for every single student, every staff member, every teacher that was inside the building at 10:57, and make sure that that they know where they are now and reunite them with their family as they can. So that's what's happening at that school right now. Still a very, very active scene.
And our Tabitha Bland was in Fire Station 14, helping us get that that press conference out to all of you, and she's standing by now. Tabitha, anything you would like to add to this conversation about your experience? You stayed in the room after we broke away from that live picture to continue those questions with the PIO for Madison Police.
Definitely. I think it's important to understand the feeling that we feel here at Station 14 today. You know, there's a lot of people in this room asking a lot of different questions, and those answers are coming, but that information is tough information to share. Chief Barnes started by taking the podium. He let us know that one teacher is dead, that one teen student is dead, as well as the teen shooter. The gender and exact age of that shooter is not yet known, but they are also dead. We also found out that there are 2 students that are in critical condition with life-threatening injuries, and others injured as well with non-life-threatening injuries. I think that it's important to note here that that information, we focused on investigation. Chief Barnes mentioned that that investigation is something that they're working on, but it's not something that they plan to rush as they talk with witnesses and try to understand what happened after they got the call at 10:57 this morning and responded. So we will stand by here. There's another press briefing at 5:30 in this exact space. We will be here bringing you all of the new information as it comes in. But until then, Tabitha Bland, WMTV 15 News.
Tabitha, thank you. We know the next media briefing at that same location will be in about 2 hours and 15 minutes as police continue to do their work. 2 other notes about the shooter. The police chief did say the shooter's family is cooperating and also did a quick check of their records and said at this point it doesn't look like there was any previous police contact between the suspect and officers.
So as we've been waiting for information, parents of Abundant Life Christian School students have been waiting to be reunited with their children. Let's now go to our Mark McPherson, who is live from the Reunification site. Mark, hopefully you've seen some parents and children leave together within the last half hour or so.
Yeah, Gabriella, we have just in the last half hour, we've seen probably 6 or 7 families leaving. Just to give you an idea of what it looked like, one parent left with a kid who was wearing a jacket that looked to be their parents that was dragging on the ground. Another mom showed up with just a t-shirt. She didn't have a jacket either. That just gives you an idea of how hectic this situation is. I'm sure as soon as she got the call, she rushed to the school as fast as she can and didn't even think about a coat. But the last bus showed up about a half hour ago. To give you an idea of the process, someone gets on the bus, they're on it for about 10 minutes or so. They then get off the bus, followed by the students, and they go directly into Dean Clinic there. With the last bus that came through, we talked about the kids that were coming off the bus. They look to be about late elementary school age. That's about the oldest that we've seen come here so far. But in the press conference, the chief did mention this is a process. They want to make sure everyone is accounted for. So I'm sure they're getting all the names, making sure they reunite them with their parents in this process. The chief started off the press conference by saying it's not only a sad day for Madison, but a sad day for the country as well. I have gotten multiple text messages from friends and family all over the country wishing us well today. This is a story that the whole country is watching right now. And on the smaller level, the focus right now is getting these kids reunified with their parents. We haven't seen another bus probably for the last half hour. We'll stay on scene to see if we can talk to any more parents or see if any more buses show up. But until then, we'll send it back to you.
All right, Mark, thank you. I think you hit the nail on the head that it's just a profound impact, not only on those families, but on our entire community, and so many across the country reaching out. I have a teacher friend in Ohio who sent me a note and has gone through the same training and same feelings. And we know there are so many all across the country holding Madison in their hearts tightly. And certainly, more than anything, the families of these students who are really just dealing with something unimaginable.
And so where our Mark McPherson was that Reunification Center. Again, if you are a parent or a caregiver who are just learning this information, we want to give you that address, 1821 South Stoughton Road. It's the Dean Clinic. It's right at that intersection of South Stoughton Road and East Buckeye Road, about a half mile from the school. They have been busing, as Mark just shared with us, busing those students from the City Church Madison, which is on the campus at Abundant Life Christian School, to that Reunification Center. So if you are not a parent or anyone involved with Abundant Life Christian School, you're being asked to stay away from this area at this time. Chief Barnes reiterated that this school is now a crime scene and they need to be able to get their investigators and their detectives to that school, as well as be able to get any parents who are trying to reach their children inside that Reunification Center. And so that's something that, you know, as we heard Mark say, some families are able to hold their little students tight tonight, their children, and there are some families who are not able to do that today. And so that just kind of gives you an idea of what this school is going through right now. Classmates won't be able to see some of their classmates again for some time, and so this is going to be something that takes a long time to heal from. And we heard from the school earlier today. The only thing we've heard from them so far is they're asking for your prayers. They're a private Christian school, and they're now turning to their faith during this time.
Another way that you can get involved if you feel to show any sign of solidarity with these victims, we know that the Boys and Girls Club of Dane County is holding a candlelight vigil. Now, this will be tomorrow, Tuesday at 6 p.m. at the Vel Phillips statue. So that's right there on the state capitol, on the square, right on the state capitol grounds. And so that'll be a way to bring people together. We know that a lot of the people who were just at that press conference will be in attendance, but it is a community candlelight vigil. So anyone who would like to turn out and just be there to support families and in honor of the victims today. That is tomorrow at 6.
Yeah, if you're feeling like you need to hold someone close and be in community after you're seeing this news, that's one option for you. Another option, which was reiterated by Dane County Executive Melissa Agard, is 988, the hotline, the suicide lifeline that's available 24/7, text, call, by website as well. And so if this is heavy news for you, if you may be struggling or know someone who might be struggling listening to some of these details, those are resources for you that we want to make sure you're aware of during what is hard for us to be reporting, Lee. It's difficult for us to be sharing this information, but those are resources that are available 24/7 for you.
You heard Chief Barnes say as he had finished detailing the injuries from the victims and those they were responding to help. He said, this is just the physical injuries. We know that there are other injuries, and he means the mental health and injuries to your psyche and your heart and emotions, and this will impact everyone differently. And so just know that my hope is that we as a community can come together and support each other, because there will be a lot of people in need and a lot of kids with very tender hearts who, you know, struggle like we do as adults to understand what has happened, but you know, it's different for kids. And so hopefully you can hug those kids. I'm gonna give my boys a big hug when I get home. I keep thinking, oh, I wish I could call and check in on them, but I know they're fine. But it's that parent heart of you just, you know, you feel so thankful that your kids are safe, and it's just so unfair that there are families who face a different reality tonight. And so anything we can all do to support them. Our Tabitha Bland, I believe, is standing by at Fire Station 14 with an update for us there. Tabitha?
Yeah, people are starting to clear out of Fire Station 14. Again, just reiterating, this is a tough thing for us to be here talking about. It's a tough thing for Chief Barnes to talk about, for the fire chief to talk about. Everyone is here with heavy hearts today, and that's why the flow of information is coming, but they are asking for patience from us. We were given a chance to ask one question as we went around the room, and we will continue to ask those questions that everyone is wondering. You know, I have pages and pages of notes of the unanswered questions that we are hoping to find out. They will have another media briefing here at 5:30 p.m. where we will continue to ask those questions. But again, we did receive an update from them that 3 are dead and others are in critical condition. They are working on the investigation now. They're trying to figure out what exactly happened this morning, why it happened, and they said that they will continue to give us that information here as they find out more. But for now, in Madison, Tabitha Bland, WMTV 15 News.
Tabitha, I do want to ask you a question. You are one of our local reporters who is there covering this, but we know that there are reporters from all across the country, national outlets. Can you give us an idea of who was in that press conference earlier today?
I mean, I think the safest thing to say is everybody. I mean, we have people from PBS, we have lots of national coverage here, as well as our local coverage. I think that this is something that has just made wake across the nation because, as many people mentioned in this press conference, you know, this is a national issue that we're facing. Schools across the country have seen this, and I think the biggest thing here is now it's happening in Madison, which is a surreal feeling for me here, a surreal feeling for you at home and for you guys in the studio, as well as every single person that responded, many different agencies that responded today.
All right, Tabitha, thank you, and we'll continue to check in with you throughout the rest of the afternoon. We do want to go back to something that Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway mentioned in her remarks. She said that the city of Madison will be drawing on any federal resources, that she's been in touch with both Governor Evers and the White House, President Biden. So there is federal and state support coming to our city to support those victims and their families. As this story is making national headlines, there will be that federal and state support. We don't know exactly what that might look like just yet, but those communication channels between our local government and our state and federal governments have started to begin.
And I'm just bringing up one of our rundowns because I know that there have been a number of lawmakers who have also reached out. We're working to put a number of those statements together. So once our normal newscast starts at 4, we will have some of those statements to share with you. Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle who have things to share today in light of what happened. Also, I know Senator Johnson is one of them who represents Wisconsin, and Mark Pocan, our congressional congressman here in too. In fact, we have a statement up now from Senator Ron Johnson. He says, quote, "My sincere apologies and prayers for all the victims of the tragedy at Abundant Life Christian School."
And then this statement comes, as Lee mentioned, from Congressman Mark Pocan, who said, quote, "We will continue to monitor the situation and offer any assistance we can provide to our first responders." We also have heard from Governor Tony Evers today, who had shared that all flags will be at half staff until Sunday as a show of respect for the victims, the two people who were killed in this school shooting. So the governor also sharing a statement. The governor, Lee, an educator himself, that's how he got his start in public office. So this is something very close to Governor Evers, knowing so many educators across the state.
Yeah, he was the DPI, a school secretary here in Wisconsin, prior to Dr. Jill Underly, the current superintendent of schools, who did release a statement earlier today as well, talking about, oh, there we go. There's Dr. Underly's statement. Thank you. She says, "Our hearts are heavy with great sorrow as we mourn the senseless loss of life in yet another school shooting." And I know some of her sentiments talked about better supporting students and what we can do collectively. While she represents public education, and this is a private school, you can see everyone coming together around this issue. No student or family should have to deal with this. And Governor Evers saying, "We are praying for the kids, educators, and entire Abundant Life School community as we await more information."
And it's likely that you've heard from your school district. If you are not a parent or a student at Abundant Life Christian School, we've heard from Madison School Superintendent Dr. Joe Gothard sharing, his condolences with this community, also sharing an update that 9 schools within the Madison School District were placed on a temporary lockdown, placed into secure lockdown. That's part of their safety protocols. That lockdown was lifted at 1:15, and everything at Madison schools will continue as scheduled for the rest of the day. One thing we don't know right now, Lee, is what's next for Abundant Life Christian School. Likely they will not have school tomorrow, but what resources might be available? Will the school be open? Those are all questions that we're trying to figure out in the wake of all of this.
And I know my kids, as I've told people before, attend Middleton Cross Plains Area School District. They sent out a note very shortly after this started, reassuring everyone was safe. But yes, I think multiple districts outside of Abundant Life reaching out to their parent population just to make sure that everyone knows that they're keeping an eye on it and working to protect our students as best as they all can. And I want to go back out to Mark McPherson, who has been at the Reunification site for the last few hours. Mark, any updates for us there?
Yeah, Lee, there's several more families have since come out of the clinic since our last live shot. Another bus has showed up, so I'll step out of the way and show you. It always comes with a police escort of about 3 police cars. Someone does get on the bus to talk to the students briefly, and then the students are escorted off the bus. The latest group that just came through did look a little bit older than the ones that came before it. So as we heard earlier in the day, they're starting with the youngest kids and working their way up. This is about the 7th bus to come through, and they have about 20 students per bus. And they've been coming through about every half hour since I've been here. They started probably around 1:30 in the afternoon. The chief mentioned in his press conference that this is a process, that they want to make sure all the students are accounted for. And that's why they're doing this, I'm sure, as slowly as they are. It's going to take a while, but if we looked at the age group that just showed up, it looked about late elementary school, so that's where they are in the process. If anything happens here, we'll keep you updated, but until then, we'll send it back to you.
Mark, thank you for the update there. I do want to also let families know we received information from Verona Police. There's no threat in Verona, but I wanted to share with you because it's possible that other local jurisdictions will be doing the same thing. They said you may see an increased police presence at or around schools this afternoon and the rest of the week. We're providing extra security as a result of today's school shooting. There are no known reported threats at any of our schools. This was specifically in Verona, but I want to assure all parents out there, if you see increased patrols, at this point, know that it is out of an abundance of caution, as what we've seen, what unfolded earlier today.
Yeah, and as you may be going to a different school tomorrow morning to drop your child off, and seeing that police officer there may provide some sense of security. As many parents are going to be facing that tomorrow morning as they do take their kids to school that are not part of this school. That's something that they'll have to have a conversation tonight of, here's what happened at a school in Madison, and here's what we know, and here's what we're going to do tomorrow, and that's going to be a hard conversation to have, especially, Lee, you know, this was the last week for these students right before Christmas break, and you know, that week for so many students is filled with class parties and cookies and all the happy things, and now this school is facing just such an immense tragedy as they have to, you know, process this right before Christmas and hopefully be with loved ones around this time. That might be some good that comes out of it, is seeing family that they haven't seen in some time. So for those students, you know, their week looks very different than what they thought when they got to school Monday morning.
And most likely a lot of schools around the area are having some of those conversations with students, as you said, when you only have a couple days left before break and you're having music share and, you know, celebrations in your classroom. This is not what you would expect it to be discussing, although I think that it is wise, and we've done stories in the past